Chapter 22-21. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion, which didn't have much strength, was praised time and time again. It was so powerful that it could shake the foundation of the entire Moyun sky. It was really inconsistent with the fact. However, Xiedan Qiong was still very happy to be the scapegoat. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion was simply too awesome. Everywhere they went, they were victorious, and they were invincible. Although the real Heavenly Armament Pavilion had never made a move or fought a battle, they were still singing songs of victory all the way. Once they were famous, wouldn't they come from everywhere? It was good to lean against a big tree for shade. Everyone knew this principle. When the time came, he would just have to wait to receive more experts as his subordinates. Ha ha ha, although there were a lot of headaches, in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Most of the injured had basically recovered. However, they had already reached the border. If they walked forward for another 2,000 miles, they would reach the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. It was also the old site of the two super sects. At the same time, it was also the destination of this trip. Xiedan Qiong and the people of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion solemnly bid farewell to the escorting army. Although they weren't close brothers, they were friends who drank and slept together. Thank you. Everyone has worked hard escorting us all this way. Thank you. In the future, our brothers will rely on Head Xie's care. Take care. Have a safe journey. In the future, when we meet again, we won't be friends. Swords are merciless, soldiers and bandits are strangers. We won't be merciless. Please. Please. Both sides left in tears. Especially when the officers and soldiers of the Dream Slayer army said goodbye to their former comrades, the scene was filled with tears. Those who wanted to stay were crying, and those who wanted to go back were also crying. In the end, the army under Mu Tianlan's command flattened 7 or 8 mountains as if they were venting their anger. They killed the trees in the forest, deliberately creating an unprecedentedly tragic battlefield. They looked on helplessly as their former brothers, their loyal and devoted brothers who had gone through fire and water with them, were forced to rebel. From then on, they would be enemies, and it would be difficult for them to be friends again. Each and every one of them found it difficult to suppress the grief in their hearts. Just like that, they cut themselves again and again. They let their blood drip on this land. To prove that this was once a battlefield, even though no one would come to inspect the battlefield in detail. However, they were using this method to vent the grief and sorrow in their heart. Xiedan Qiong put away his melancholy as he watched the army leave. He waved his hand, and led his troops into the mountains. All the soldiers who belonged to the Dream Slayer army would settle down in this place. Their families would also settle down in this place. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion's strength would rise from this moment onward. A white-clothed man was standing on a treetop somewhere far away. He was watching Xiedan Qiong's troops withdraw into the mountains. He faintly sighed. Then, he soared up, and flew back at an extremely fast speed. Thoughts surged along the way. No one was clearer than him that from now on, in the black cloud sky, a superpower had truly risen, Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Under the crazy leadership of Xiedan Qiong, once this force was fully fledged, it would truly possess the tyrannical ability to sweep through the entire ink cloud sky. And the most fatal thing was that this new force had a complicated relationship with the current Mo Yuntian military, and their relationship had a deeper foundation. Between each other, there were many things that they could not let go of. In the future, it would be more and more difficult to deal with. However, the current situation had forced everyone to this point. What could they do? This was the biggest foundation of this army, a terrifying force that could be expected in the future. It was growing strong. The future, no one could predict. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion had already retreated into the mountains. They temporarily laid down their flags and ceased their drums. They were recuperating and gradually growing stronger. And the turmoil in the entire black cloud sky had just started. The internal strife of the two military pillars did not stop because of the disappearance of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Instead, it became more and more intense. Both sides were now red-eyed. They fought until they were red-eyed. They killed until they were red-eyed. The manpower of these two sides slowly evolved from normal attack and defense to all kinds of despicable means. They used every means to scheme against each other. As for Heavenly Emperor Mo Yun, Yuan Tianji's attitude was extremely ambiguous. He turned a blind eye to the fight between the two sides. Occasionally, he would also participate in it. Every time he said something, it would make Mu Tianlan's side very uncomfortable. In the entire black cloud sky, the two military forces were like two fierce tigers, launching the most intense confrontation. After Xiedan Qiong retreated into the mountains, he immediately issued the highest order. All the personnel were to be separated, regrouped, and a new commander was appointed. There had to be a process for the new people to integrate with the original team. Moreover, the newcomers were basically all elites. This was a very important point. Just for this, Xiedan Qiong racked his brains. He could not let his old brothers feel left out, and he could not let the new people feel excluded. He had to make the best use of people. Xiedan Qiong thoroughly felt the difficulties of Chu Yang and Mo Tianji at that time. This was not a job that humans could do. If the brothers were still together now, that would be great. Xiedan Qiong looked up to the sky and sighed. If it was really like that, why would I have to do this kind of dirty work? I only need to drink and chat with Jimo and Luo Kudi, and Mo Tianji can do it alone. Sigh. This was one of the reasons. The second was to choose a new place to settle down. This was originally the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's main camp on the surface. But Xiedan Qiong did not dare to place all the forces here. After all, there were too many people here who knew. A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. It was very necessary. The most terrifying enemy in this world is the enemy that cannot be found. This was something that Chu Yang had said very seriously. Xiedan Qiong was very sure of this, and firmly remembered it. He had always adhered to this principle. If there were too many people, it was impossible to not be found. But Xiedan Qiong could choose to scatter. There was no need to be afraid of many people, as long as there was enough space. And the scattered places had to have a certain degree of concealment. Even if there was a day when they were attacked, they would not be wiped out in one go. Putting all the food in a single pot, that was the real way to die. As long as they were not wiped out in one go, no matter who it was, they would have to consider the severe consequences of poking the hornet's nest. The joint revenge of millions of experts was enough to make anyone in the world restless. Then, Xiedan Qiong started to train the troops without stopping. I have a premonition that a great era of turmoil in the imperial court is coming, so we have to be prepared before the turmoil in the imperial court arrives. Moreover, our boss, the real master of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, has already started the countdown. We have to work harder and give our boss a big surprise when he arrives. Xiedan Qiong's eyes were shining when he said this, flashing with heartfelt expectation. Come quickly, I will be free when you come. Oh God, what kind of days have I been through all this time? One of his subordinates asked in confusion, Chief, who is your boss? Xiedan Qiong smiled, my boss is a peerless character. When he was young, he overturned 2 big countries. When he was young, he had already rushed into the imperial court of heaven. He has always been invincible. He has never failed in his attacks. He has never failed in his calculations. He has trillions of soldiers in his mind. He is the #1 superhero in the world. Now that they were familiar with each other, someone boldly asked, could it be that the boss is really more powerful than the chief? It can't be, right? It's really hard to imagine. You are making a fuss because you have not seen much. What am I? Xiedan Qiong snorted, 10 of me, even 100 of me may not be able to compare to one boss. Xiedan Qiong was very serious and cautious when he said these words. Although the brothers have not arrived yet, the image of the brothers must be established. These words made everyone in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion of Mo Yun Tian excited, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Who was Xiedan Qiong? In the Heavenly Armament Pavilion of Mo Yun Tian, there was no one like him. He had been barehanded all the way, and his cultivation had soared to become a legendary figure. He had been alone, and now he had millions of soldiers and horses. He had become the leader of a super force that could control the situation of the world. Xiedan Qiong's journey had only taken a little more than a year's time, This kind of battle record, no matter where it was, would be an out-and-out legend. Since ancient times, how many people like him had there been in the imperial court of heaven? And Xiedan Qiong obviously did not have a big force behind him, but that boss whom they had never met was actually 10 times or 100 times more powerful than Xiedan Qiong. What kind of perverted person would that be? Although this statement was more or less exaggerated, but since the leader had said so and praised him so highly, then this mysterious boss's boss would definitely not be that bad. Could it be that the boss's boss is a super character like Die's descendant? Someone was quick-witted and asked with a salivating face. To be so powerful, he must be a character of this level, right? Xiedan Qiong laughed. Your guess is almost there. Although boss is not the descendant of Die, he is not inferior to them. In fact, he is even more powerful. I will never doubt this, I will only firmly believe it. The whole place was in an uproar. 2 words suddenly flashed in everyone's mind. Saint. Xiedan Qiong smiled slightly. He did not comment on this judgment, leaving only a huge mystery. In Xiedan Qiong's heart, he really wanted to say, even if he is a saint, he is nothing compared to my boss. But he knew that this sentence could not be said, at least not for the time being. Right now, he could only stop before going too far. It was enough to boost the morale. But if he said that sentence, it would become a complete boast in everyone's eyes. No one would believe it. Looking at Xiedan Qiong's mysterious smile, the people of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion were shocked to the point of numbness. Chapter 22-22. Everyone's heart was shocked to the point of numbness. They only felt that heavenly thunder was rumbling above their heads. Could it be that Big Boss's big boss was actually the Lord? Oh my God, it's not just Big Brother. I have many brothers. I'm only ranked first among my brothers. Xiedan Qiong dropped another bombshell. Our ranking is based on intelligence, strength, breadth of mind, and so on. Xiedan Qiong said, one of us brothers is invincible with his sword. There was another person who, with a saber in hand, could face the entire heaven palace alone. There is another person who can calculate everything under the heavens and see through the mysteries of heaven. And Xiedan Qiong's expression was full of nostalgia, seriousness, and emotion when he said these words. At this moment, I really miss you guys. But it was this outpouring of emotion that made everyone who heard these words believe without a doubt. Without experience, it was impossible to fabricate something out of thin air. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion was suddenly in an uproar. Boss's boss. Boss's brother. Boss's back. Boss's back. All of this was like a gust of wind, blowing through the hearts of everyone in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. It became the topic of conversation after dinner or late at night. Everyone was guessing, but the more they guessed, the more they admired him, and the more they admired him, the more loyal they were to him. The first snow of this winter in Mo Yuntian was rarely seen in 10,000 years. During this period of time, the snowfall was either big or small, but it never stopped. It actually continued for more than 40 days. However, no matter how long the snowfall lasted, there would be an end to it. The battle between the 2 major military forces lasted for more than 40 days. It was a sunny day after the heavy snow. The 3 figures left the palace like ghosts, ignoring the chaos in Mo Yuntian. In a flash, they had already soared into the sky. Then, 3 streaks of light slowly rose into the sky, and the 3 people disappeared without a trace. Marshal's residence. Mu Tianlan looked at the 3 disappearing rainbows in the sky and sighed deeply. He muttered to himself, of His Majesty's 5 great bodyguards, 3 of them were killed in one breath. How can Wu Yue escape from such a thunderous situation? The heavens are going to kill him. Behind him, the gloomy figure appeared again and said, Marshal, 3 of His Majesty's 5 personal bodyguards were sent out at once. I'm afraid General Meng will definitely die this time. Unless we intervene. Mu Tianlan was silent for a moment and said, we can't interfere anymore. The 2 of you are too familiar with each other. You will be able to recognize each other the moment you make a move. If that happens, it will truly be a disaster for us. I really didn't expect His Majesty to place so much importance on the enmity of the Crown Prince. He won't stop until he exterminates all his enemies. Shadow sighed. There's something you don't know. Speaking of which, this Grand Empress came when His Majesty was old. The other Grand Empresses had already been crowned as kings and had many grandchildren. Only this Grand Empress was nurtured by His Majesty in the past many years. This affection is naturally hard to erase. Mu Tianlan let out a long sigh. That's why he has been spoiled into such a lawless state. With what he has done, he is simply courting death. Even death can't wipe out his hatred. Shadow curled his lips. Don't say such things again in the future. Mu Tianlan said deeply. Shadow said, yes, but how should we deal with this matter? Mu Tianlan's face twitched painfully. Sigh, if you make a move again, it's tantamount to declaring war on His Majesty. This is absolutely not feasible. Right now, we can only hope that Wu Yue is blessed by the heavens. At this point, Shadow also fell silent. Yes, they could no longer make a move on this matter. Now, not to mention that the internal dispute within the military was at its fiercest, the degree of familiarity with each other had already restricted them from making a move. If there were many people involved in the battle, they might still be able to find a chance to fish in troubled waters. But now, there were only 3 people making a move. The situation was simple and clear, so there was really no other way. Once they were recognized, then Mu Tianlan's entire military group was bound to be suppressed and collapsed in an instant. Even Mu Tianlan would be in a worrying situation, and might even be defeated. Yuan Tianji could tolerate Mu Tianlan and use prolonged battle, but he absolutely could not tolerate anyone challenging his authority. This was the bottom line of a ruler and a subject. We can only hope that the heavens will help old Meng. Shadow also sighed. Although they said so, the 2 of them were only pessimistic in their hearts. This time, with the 3 great guards working together, even if Meng Wu Yue had the ability to reach the heavens, his chances of survival were also very slim. Every celestial emperor must be accompanied by 7 great guards. These 7 great guards were known as the 7-star guards. At that time, the ones who competed for the position of celestial emperor were these people. Before everyone started to compete for the position of celestial emperor, they all made a heavenly oath. The winner is the king. The loser is the king's guard. When the great celestial emperor stood out, the others also kept their promise and became the 7-star guards. This matter was set in motion. They were born a long time ago, and after that, Emperor One and Empress had a common tacit understanding to hide the fact that these people existed. Only people with considerable qualifications could know of their existence. They were basically the secret forces that belonged to a celestial emperor. This force was extremely powerful, almost enough to shake any power in the world. The martial strength of each of these 7 people had to at least reach the level of a high-level saint. Among these people, the vast majority were close to the level of a peak saint. As long as they appeared, it was equivalent to representing the peak battle strength under Emperor One and Empress. There was no one else. Looking at this world, perhaps there were still some people who could have similar cultivation as them, but, taking everything into account, in the entire Heaven Imperial Court, they could not find so many people. Often, in addition to making these people their own personal guards, each celestial emperor would assign them to their trusted ministers to be responsible for their life and safety. Of the 7 great guards of Celestial Emperor Ink Cloud, Yuan Tianji, one was assigned to His Highness the Great Emperor, and the other was assigned to Prime Minister Yi Luoyu. As for the remaining 5, they were all used to protect the imperial palace. It was rumored that when the Celestial Emperor went out on a grand occasion, 10,000 places would worship him when he was still, and 7 kings would accompany him when he was moving. Everyone thought that the 7 kings accompanying him was just a metaphor, but in reality, it was really 7 kings, former kings. And because Mu Tianlan already had Shadow, this super expert, by his side, Yuan Tianji did not assign him any additional tasks. Shadow was Mu Tianlan's sworn brother. Although he did not belong to the 7 great guards, his true strength was not inferior to any of those people. This time, in order to deal with Chu Yang and Meng Wuya, Yuan Tianji sent out 3 people at once. This scale was the first time in the history of Ink Cloud Sky. Meng Wuya was at most a primary saint. How could he resist the joint attack of these 3 people? Therefore, Mu Tianlan and Ying could only let out a sigh of relief. In these few months, Xie Danqiong was so busy that his heels did not touch the ground, but he did not know that Chu Yang was similarly busy. Not to mention other things, he almost did not even have time to find Tai Butian and Wu Qianqian for dual cultivation. It was not that Chu Yang was too busy, but the 2 girls were too busy. It was all because everything had to start from scratch, and there were many things waiting to be done. People had to be trained, and they had to seize the time. They had to break in, have tacit understanding, and reorganize. They had to spend money and make money. Chu Yang, on the other hand, used an extremely secret method to spread the new version of the super heavy pill among his subordinates. This allowed everyone to improve at a godly speed and make rapid progress. Recently, Luohua City seemed to have become a place where lightning flashed and thunder roared overnight. It was really very unusual. In the past, Luohua City was surrounded by mountains on all sides, and the wind and rain were favorable. There was no scene of thunder and lightning at all. Often, it might not even happen once in a few years. However, since Chu Yang's Heavenly Armament Pavilion was established, after about a month, suddenly, there were people breaking through almost every day. Naturally, the lightning flashed and thunder roared in Luohua City. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was permanent. During those days, there were people who had to bear the heavenly punishment almost every day. At most, there would be more than 10 or 20 people breaking through in a day. Often, lightning flashed and thunder roared continuously for several days. Such a terrifying scene made the indigenous warriors of Luohua City widen their eyes and drop their jaws to the ground. How could this be? This was too illogical, inconceivable, and inconceivable. In the past 100 years, it was quite rare to have a breakthrough that led to the heavenly punishment. Moreover, the clan that produced the master would have a big celebration. But now, why are there so many high-level heavenly punishments raining down from the sky? What exactly is going on? Was this a joke? When did the heavenly punishment become as common as cabbages? This made the newly risen Heavenly Armament Pavilion inexplicably more mysterious in Demon Emperor Heaven. It was said everywhere in Jianghu that as long as you joined Heavenly Armament Pavilion, you could break through the existing martial arts shackles and reach the sky in one step. It was no longer a delusion. The Heavenly Armament Pavilion had mysterious experts, priceless elixirs and secret manuals, and experienced experts to instruct them. With so many advantages, you would be embarrassed if you did not break through. Wasn't it? As a result, more and more martial artists wanted to join the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. And the warriors who were already in Heavenly Armament Pavilion were even more motivated. Now, everyone was risking their lives to torture themselves. Look, just because they worked a little harder than us, they were originally at the same level as us. Now, they have been promoted and entered the Saint Armament Advanced Barracks. That person has entered the Heavenly Human Barracks. What about us? Although we have made some progress, overall, we are still in the same place. There is no essential breakthrough. This is not good. Chapter 22-23. If you want to improve, how can you do it without risking your life? Before this, each and every one of them had complained about the so-called extreme training. But now, their eyes were shining. If they didn't torment themselves to death every day, they wouldn't be able to live with it. It wasn't just a matter of promotion, there was also a basic problem of face. Others have promoted, but you don't promote yourself. Damn, why are you so useless? You must be thinking about something else, and not working hard enough. Could it be that he was just going to watch his former underlings become his leaders? Riding on top of your head and acting like a tyrant? How can this be justified? Absolutely unbearable. This was related to a man's face, and it was infinitely serious. Therefore, they worked harder and harder every day, and more people broke through every day. It stimulated the remaining people to the point that their eyes turned red, and they naturally became fiercer and fiercer, Chu Yang was extremely busy during this period of time. But he was also very busy in his heart. Every day, he would secretly add a lot of elixirs to everyone's food. He wanted to ensure that these people wouldn't overdo their training and kill themselves. Moreover, they were full of vigor. There were no after effects. However, there was one time when Chu Yang was a little careless and added twice the amount of elixirs at once. This time, it was incredible. After eating and drinking, this group of people were full of energy, and they didn't care about anything else. They continued to train until they were full of energy, and they couldn't stop at all. After that day, the ground of the entire Heavenly Armament Pavilion had been trampled by these guys for nearly 10 feet. The so-called 1 meter higher sky was just like this. No, even if it was 3 times higher, it wouldn't be enough. 3 times was only 1 foot. This result scared Chu Yang. These people were all talented people, and if they were really too excited, what would happen? Fortunately, the heavens still took care of these people, and none of them were really too excited. Moreover, the effect was very obvious. After one day, this group of people had broken through, and there were actually more than 50 people. However, Chu Yang didn't dare to be greedy anymore. This time, fortunately, nothing happened. If the intensity of the training was lower, perhaps some people would really explode. That would be big trouble. Not to mention the fact that all the secrets had been revealed, but he still felt heartache over the loss of his own people. Wouldn't that be equivalent to losing elixirs and people? Apart from Chu Yang, Tai Bu Tian, and Wu Qianqian, who were very busy, the other hall masters were also very busy. For example, Meng Wu Ya was so busy that he was badly battered. Now, this primary level saint had to run when he walked. But because he was so busy, Meng Wu Ya's previously depressed mood had improved a lot. At the very least, it was no longer as painful as before. Another thing worth mentioning was the divine soul of the calamity. Ever since the divine soul of calamity arrived here, he had been sighing and drooping his head because there wasn't enough death energy here for him to absorb. Or to be more precise, there was basically no death energy for him to absorb. There were very few powerful warriors in Luohua City. Just by looking at the Tang family, one could see that they had dominated this place for hundreds of thousands of years. But it was also because of this that there were relatively few killings in this place. It could be said that this place was the most peaceful place in the whole Heaven Imperial Court. People would like such an environment very much. But souls, especially the divine soul of calamity, didn't like it at all. If it weren't for Chu Yang by his side, who could provide him with the purest dead spirit energy from time to time, he might not have been able to stay here any longer. Even so, he was still dispirited, and didn't have the slightest bit of energy. Since the sword spirit left, the divine soul of calamity had become Chu Yang's new super trump card. Seeing him like this, Chu Yang finally couldn't help but say, "You are too stupid, aren't you? You are one of the few tyrannical existences in the world. How can you be so stupid? When people die, there will be death energy, but when other lives die, there won't be death energy. Divine soul, you are too narrow-minded." "What do you mean?" The divine soul of calamity's eyes lit up when he heard this. He vaguely felt that Chu Yang's words were very reasonable, or that he was opening up a limitless new path for him. But he still couldn't figure out where exactly it was. "That's why I say that your thinking is rigid. I have said it so clearly. In my opinion, this Luohua city is actually the best place for you to cultivate. It's just that you haven't realized it yet." Chu Yang pointed to the falling flowers that were everywhere in the sky. When people die, death energy is born. When life withers, death energy is born. Every flower here is a life. When these flowers wither, there will be loss, reluctance, and sadness. Aren't these also a kind of death energy? The divine soul of calamity trembled all over. Looking at the falling flowers in the sky, he suddenly became completely speechless. He stood there for a long time without moving. He seemed to have thought of something. The withering of flowers may be the real withering of life. This is the pure death energy that can be derived from the spirits of heaven and earth. And it is not as full of hostility as the death energy of human beings, which disturbs one's state of mind. I think you should think about it carefully. Before Chu Yang finished speaking, The divine soul of calamity had already disappeared. Half a month later, the divine soul of calamity came to Chu Yang happily. As soon as he saw Chu Yang, he gave Chu Yang a big bear hug. Little ancestor, you are the savior of my life. I love you so much. You really saved my life. You showed me the way, opened my eyes, and illuminated my future. I love you so much. Chu Yang was creeped out. He struggled hard to break free. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Are you possessed? The death energy derived from the withering of flowers is really wonderful. It is the future that I have been looking for a long time. The divine soul of calamity was exultant. Every flower, when it withers, indeed has the death energy. And it is really the death energy of the withering of life. It is far purer than the death energy derived from the death of human beings. Although the death aura from flowers is relatively weak, and it takes about 1,000 flowers to be equivalent to the death aura from one person's death, there are many of them. Every day, there are hundreds of billions of petals that wither. This number is simply too huge. In addition, the death aura of the flowers is not only purer, but more importantly, it has no resentment or evil aura. It is the most suitable cultivation resource for my generation. Moreover, it has the ability to purify and eliminate the evil aura accumulated from my original cultivation. Didn't you save my life? The divine soul of calamity's eyes were brimming with tears. Yes, if there were tears. Save your life. Isn't this a bit exaggerated? You are a saint-level expert. Chu Yang expressed his surprise. Although he had expected that the withering of flowers might inspire a new path for the divine soul of calamity, it shouldn't be so exaggerated, right? This is something you don't know. The divine soul of calamity is a special existence that does not belong to life, death, or reincarnation. It is because of the huge amount of hostility accumulated over hundreds of millions of years. In this life, although it is powerful, it can only be a lonely ghost. However, after the malice is purified in this place, there is still room for significant improvement in my cultivation. As long as I reach a higher level and resolve the malice that has lasted for hundreds of thousands of years, it will be possible for me to reconstruct my body and become a real human being again. The soul of the calamity spoke incoherently. He could not have been more excited. The divine soul of calamity stuttered for a long time before Chu Yang finally understood. So it was like this. No matter how powerful and omnipotent one was, whenever one faced human or life, the divine soul of calamity's indescribable inferiority from the bottom of his heart always existed. Who didn't want to be an upright person? Who was willing to be a divine soul that could only survive in the land of darkness forever? Being terrifying and sinister was definitely a method that could make the enemy tremble in fear. However, if it could be done openly, who would be willing to be terrifying and sinister? Besides, the divine soul of calamity also had its limits. Once it reached its limits, the punishment of heaven and earth would be to vanish like smoke and cloud. And Chu Yang's idea, which was more or less nonsense, unexpectedly solved the divine soul of calamity's puzzling problem. It gave him hope that he could be a human again. How could he not be excited? After knowing this, Chu Yang also couldn't help but feel happy for the divine soul of calamity. After the first heavy snow of early winter, Yarrow Ningning brought the Hu and Ma elders, as well as Bai Shixian, on the way back to the Demon Imperial City. The Demon Empress' birthday was celebrated by the entire Demon Imperial Heaven. As a human, Yarrow Ningning naturally had to go back. As for Bai Shixian, she followed the Grand Elder to get the Fox clan's inheritance. The little girl followed along excitedly. Little girl, don't forget what I said. Before Chu Yang left, he reminded Yarrow Ningning. For the Demon Empress' birthday this time, Chu Yang also gave a generous gift. Whether it was out of respect for his seniors or because it was the birthday of his brother's mother, this gift had to be given. Logically speaking, he should go personally. However, the Demon Empress' birthday did not allow outsiders to be present, so he could only give up. Don't worry. Yarrow Ningning patted her chest. If my mother doesn't agree, I'll threaten her with suicide. She'll definitely give in. This trick of mine works every time, And it works every time. Chu Yang's face darkened. For the demon empress to have such a son, it was really a great tribulation for this world's top experts. If she didn't agree, she would threaten with suicide. This was truly a peerless and ruthless move that made people concede defeat. Yarrow Ningning was reluctant to leave, but he laughed and left. 100,000, wait for me. I will be back soon, let's meet again in the martial world. Even if an unconventional person was more shrewd sometimes, he would still say unconventional things in a suitable situation. So, a fool would always be a fool. This was true. I dare to bet with you. When he saw Yarrow Ningning, Bai Shixian and the others leave, Tan Tan was so excited that his eyebrows danced. What bet? Chu Yang asked curiously. Because after the previous incident, a certain demon king had been taught a lesson by a certain female demon king. It seemed that he had not dared to talk about the word bet for a long time. What was going on today? I bet that when the two of them come back, they will definitely be a couple. Tan Tan said confidently, looking at the backs of Yarrow Ningning and Bai Shixian. Chapter 22-24. Get lost. Chu Yang said angrily, do I need you to tell me this? Are you playing with nonsense? The two of them are already flirting with each other now. During this period of time, Yarrow Ningning had completely given up on Zi Sheqing. Firstly, Zi Sheqing's heart belonged to someone else, and it was his boss Chu Yang. How would Yarrow Ningning dare to be rash? Secondly, ever since he saw Zi Sheqing's violence, Yarrow Ningning had nightmares even in his dreams. He dreamed that he married Zi Sheqing and was played with as a sandbag every day. This was really a man's nightmare. Who would be willing to be beaten by his wife like a sandbag every day? While Yarrow Ningning's hair stood on end, his worship of Chu Yang was even greater. Only his boss would be able to bear it. Therefore, Yarrow Ningning turned his attention to Bai Shixian, whom he already had a good impression of. Every day, he attentively waited on her. Bai Shixian was originally a little ignorant of worldly affairs. Under Yarrow Ningning's relentless attacks, her heart naturally felt a little like a little girl's vanity. Therefore, as time went by, there was a tendency for them to fall into the enemy's hands. Chu Yang saw all of this. Why would he make such a bet with Tan Tan that he would definitely lose? He also understood why this guy was in such a hurry to make a bet with him today. To make a bet that he would definitely win, anyone would want to make a bet. Oh right, what were you doing last night? Why did you make such a big commotion? Chu Yang narrowed his eyes, his face full of doubts and suspicions. Nothing. Tan Tan was actually a little bashful, which was rare for him. If you didn't do anything, why did you scream last night? It was as if you were killing something. Chu Yang's face was full of gossip. Get lost. If you ask me again, I'll fall out with you. Tan Tan's face was red, and he turned around and left. The way he walked was completely like a big crab, with broad steps. It looked very strange. Chu Yang was stunned for a while, and suddenly seemed to have understood something. He held his stomach and laughed. A snowball was rolled to the size of a millstone by Tan Tan, and it smashed towards him. What are you laughing at? Chu Yang laughed so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. He already understood the specific reason now. Yesterday morning, Xie Danfeng had come to Tai Butian hesitantly to ask about this matter. Moreover, she had said that it had to be kept strictly confidential. In the end, after Tai Butian heard it, she laughed so hard that she couldn't care less about her manners. She turned around and told the gossip to Zitong Wu Qianqian. Then, Wu Qianqian accidentally told Chu Yang. The matter was like this. Tan Tan had felt that the time was ripe the night before yesterday. Moreover, he had been living with Xie Danfeng for a long time. So, he had become somewhat restless. She then asked Xie Danfeng, "Are we pregnant?" My senior brother's child is already old enough to buy soy sauce, but I'm lagging behind by a lot. Xie Danfeng was startled when she heard this. I don't know. Why isn't it here yet? Tan Tan was a bit impatient. Say, how long have we been sleeping on the same bed? Why haven't we had a child yet? Xie Danfeng was a little surprised by his words. That's right. This shouldn't be the case. Both of our bodies should be in good health. The two of them studied for a whole night, but they still didn't have the slightest clue. Yes, the two of them had been eating and living together. However, it had already started since they were in the Chongtian continent. So, why hadn't there been any news until now? In the morning, Xie Danfeng came to Tai Butian with dark circles under her eyes and asked, "Why can't we have a child?" Tai Butian was also confused by this question. Although she was an experienced person, she still didn't know much about certain matters regarding virginity. The two women buried their heads and studied for a long time, but they still couldn't figure it out. However, in the end, Tai Butian accidentally discovered that Xie Danfeng was still a virgin. She was dumbfounded on the spot. Since she hadn't lost her virginity, how could she have a child? How could she ask such an idiotic question? Tai Butian was at a loss about this. She vaguely suspected that Tan Tan was actually very unlucky. She couldn't help but ask. Xie Danfeng stammered about this. She blushed for a long time before she spoke. It turned out that these two idiots had always thought that as long as they slept on the same bed, they would be husband and wife. As long as a man and a woman slept on the same bed, they should have a child. Therefore, the two of them had always slept peacefully on the same bed, snoring on their own. Well, water didn't interfere with the river water. How could they have a child like this? Tai Butian burst out laughing on the spot. Even her tears had burst out because of her excessive laughter. This kind of weirdo was really rare in the world. Xie Danfeng listened and laughed uneasily. After she understood the situation, she went back as if she was fleeing for her life. The pitiful girl only now knew that if she wanted to have a child, she couldn't have one just by sleeping together. That still required other basic steps. Therefore, that night, Tan Tan asked in high spirits, "Did you ask? What's going on?" Xie Danfeng got angry from the bottom of her heart. So, she became bold. Moreover, she was so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. She thought that this guy had made her lose face. So, she angrily grabbed Tan Tan's vital part. Then, she ferociously twisted it, and roared, "You call yourself a divine master of love? You don't even understand the most basic things. This thing of yours has never shown its power. Where did the child come from?" Perhaps Xie Danfeng used too much strength. After all, she was still a little girl. So, she didn't know how to control her strength. Tan Tan was caught off guard. He let out a miserable howl on the spot. Then, he curled up like a shrimp and rolled on the bed endlessly. It really hurt to death. Even a great demon king would be no different from an ordinary man in that place. At most, it would be a little more powerful. But, it certainly wouldn't be able to resist being pinched. Of course, this kind of twisting was even more unbearable. Xie Danfeng couldn't help but jump in fright when she saw this. But, she also knew that she had accidentally injured Tan Tan, so, Tan Tan didn't have any serious problems after the two of them did this. But, they reckoned that he wouldn't be able to do that for a short period of time. Well, he needs to recuperate in this kind of situation. Therefore, although the two of them now understood how to have a child, they couldn't do anything for a short time. Of course, the effect would have been instantaneous if Tan Tan had asked Chu Yang for a heavy pill. In fact, he would have recovered on the same day. However, Tan Tan didn't have enough time to conceal this matter. So, how could he say it out loud? At that time, if Chu Yang really asked, "What do you want a heavy pill for?" wouldn't Tan Tan be immediately dumbfounded and ashamed to show his face? To think that he was a great demon king. To think that he had always boasted of being a saint in destroying flowers. After all this time, he actually didn't even understand the most crucial step. In fact, he was just a little virgin who couldn't be any whiter. It was really too shameful. Great Demon King Tan really couldn't afford to lose this person. Fortunately, his little brother Yarrow Ningning was no longer nearby. If he knew, Tan Tan probably wouldn't have the face to live. So, at this moment, when he heard Chu Yang's question, Tan Tan exploded on the spot. Chu Yang worked so hard for so long. Finally, he found such a joke. How could he let it go? Naturally, he would ask Tan Tan every few days, "Junior brother, how is it?" After a few times, Tan Tan even had the impulse to run away from home. He didn't know if the internal strife would be contagious. The internal strife in Mo Yuntian's military was fierce, and there was also internal strife in Luohua city. However, the target of the internal strife wasn't Chu Yang's heavenly armament pavilion, but the Tang clan. During this period of time, the Tang clan had three internal strife. On one hand, they agreed to move, and on the other hand, they agreed not to move. Then, they quarreled. But in the end, the Tang clan's third young master directly threatened them with death. Finally, they used the most shameless and extreme method to stop the clan's base from moving. This guy felt that Chu Yang's words were too reasonable. The Tang clan could develop until now completely because of good feng shui. So, he didn't hesitate to fight with his family at all costs. But, the price he paid for this persistence was, the Tang clan's eldest young master said, "You don't have to move and can stay where you are, but you have to build a new courtyard on your own, located in the south of the city." But to build a new team was easier said than done. Not to mention other things, where would the basic funds come from? That was a considerable amount of money. In other words, if you, Tang Yongwei, want the Tang clan to not move, fine, you can build one on your own. Of course, the prerequisite is that you don't use the clan's money. The Tang clan's third young master was enraged. He patted his thin chest on the spot and promised generously, "I will build one on my own, and I will guarantee that I will build it and not let anyone down. I will contribute to the prosperity of my Tang clan for hundreds of millions of years." Who doesn't know how to boast? But what if you can't build it? The Tang clan's eldest young master pressed. "I will definitely build it." The Tang clan's third young master's face turned red. He didn't give in at all. "I also believe that you can build it. No matter who you give 10,000 years, anyone can build it. Even a cat or a dog won't have a problem." The Tang clan's eldest young master squinted. "I can build a new courtyard in 3 years. The Tang clan's third young master flew into a rage. 3 years. Don't brag, there's no dust here. The Tang clan's eldest young master snorted disdainfully. "If you can build it in 3 years, I won't fight with you for the position of clan master in the future. But, what if you can't build it in 3 years? If I can't build it in 3 years, I will withdraw from the core of the clan and won't fight with you for anything. And, I won't fucking be called Tang Yongwei anymore. I will change my name to True Impotence." The Tang clan's third young master's face turned red. He pointed to the heavens and swore, "It's a promise. It's a promise. Let's make a promise. Let's make a promise. Let's make a promise. Come. Clap, clap." They had rushed all the way here. The two brothers were quarreling like fighting cocks. Sentence after sentence, no one could get a word in edgewise. The surrounding people didn't seem to have the time to persuade them. The two of them had already made a promise. "Ian, don't be evil." The clap here wasn't referring to the Tang clan's third young master and his brother having sex. It was the Tang clan's third young master and his brother clapping their palms together. Clap, 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 clap to make a promise. In the next moment, this promise was actually recognized by the heavenly Tao. It was officially established and there was no going back on it. Chapter 22-25. Then, the Tang family's eldest young master looked at his third brother with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Third brother, this bet has already been set. You can't go back on your word. If you go back on your word, I won't even need to find trouble with you. The higher-ups will directly find trouble with you. To establish a Tang family-side courtyard that is not inferior to the Tang family in 3 years, this task is still a bit difficult. Ha ha ha. Big brother, I wish you success in advance. Work hard and do your best." The Tang family's third young master suddenly regained his senses. His head was extremely feverish, and his heart was immediately thrown into a river of gold thread. In an instant, his intestines were green with regret. How was he going to deal with this matter? Wanting to establish such a large side courtyard in 3 years was simply a fantasy. It was a completely impossible task. How was he going to accomplish it? But he had already clapped his hands as an oath. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, it was impossible. The Tang family's third young master wanted to cry, but no tears came out. But when he saw the Tang family's complacent expression, he could only grit his teeth and swallow his blood. Just wait and see. I will definitely succeed. When he said those words, his heart was dripping blood. I'll succeed. I'll succeed, your ass. It would be strange if I could succeed. Ha ha ha. This elder brother will wait and see. The Tang family's eldest young master laughed loudly as he walked out. His face was filled with complacency. Then, the Tang family's third young master sat down on the ground. He slapped his thigh and sighed. I'm really stupid, really stupid, really stupid but he immediately realized that there were countless spectators around. He immediately jumped up and said smugly, isn't it just a Tang family-side courtyard? Isn't this easy? To this young master, it's a piece of cake. What's so difficult about it? As he said that, he hummed a little tune and walked out of the door. Everyone in the room had their jaws dropped to the ground. This fellow, even if his face was slapped until it was as swollen as a pig's head, he still wanted to be fat. Everyone wanted to see how this guy would be able to complete this impossible task in 3 years. As soon as the Tang family's third young master stepped out of the door, his 2 long legs turned into noodles as he wailed, how could I be so stupid? I was led into a ditch by someone with just a few words. 3 years my God, 3 years to establish a courtyard that is not inferior to the Tang family. Oh God, please strike me with lightning. Then, he wiped his tears and rolled his eyes. That's right. A hero needs 3 helpers. I'd better hurry and find Chu Yang to think of a solution. That's the most important thing. In an instant, the Tang family's third young master rushed towards the heavenly armament pavilion like a galloping horse that had been cut by a knife. His speed was extremely fast. What's so difficult about such a small matter? Chu Yang patted his chest and said, isn't it just some money? Brother, don't worry. I can't guarantee anything else, but my methods of making money are definitely not inferior to anyone. Don't worry. How could it take 3 years to establish a Tang family courtyard? Follow Big Brother. You don't have to worry about anything. Big Brother will set it up for you within a year. The Tang family's third young master wanted to cry on the spot. Damn it. Looking at his posture, he only knows how to talk big. These words are too beautiful. I don't dare to believe them. Third young master, you can do this. Chu Yang said with a face full of confidence, I'll give you a sum of money first as a deposit. You will be responsible for the food and drink of everyone in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion during this period of time, including medicinal materials, weapons, metal, clothes, etc. As long as you do these things well, you will have a lot of money. Not to mention a Tang family courtyard, even if you have 3 or 5 more, it won't matter. Chu Yang patted his chest as if he was full of confidence. During this period of time, there was a serious shortage of manpower. Chu Yang was worried. It was rare for this guy to take the initiative to come and ask for money. This was really a job that fell from the sky. If you want to make money, isn't it easy? As long as you can serve my tens of thousands of people well, wouldn't purple cloud coins be as easy as drinking cold water for me? Not to mention a few 100 million purple cloud coins, even tens of billions of purple cloud coins would be a piece of cake for this king of hell. By the way, you should set up an auction house for me first. See how I can make money for you. Minister Chu's eyes turned. He wanted to streamline his tribulation space. There was too much junk accumulated in there. It took up too much space. Cleaning out the warehouse was the right way. This is not a problem. But what exactly do you want to do? What important items are you recommending for the auction? It needs to be of a very high grade. The first item must be a hit, otherwise. The Tang family's third young master was a little hesitant. This young master's tone is too big. I'm scared. It's too unreal, don't worry about it. With this big brother as your strong backing, everything will be fine. Chu Yang's tone was so big that it could swallow the sky. As long as this big brother puts in some effort, earning 10 billion purple cloud coins in a month is a piece of cake. I believe that just the commission from the auction house alone is enough for you to eat and drink for 80,000 generations." The Tang family's third young master's mouth twitched. He had no choice but to go out and do his work. Now, he could only make a Hail Mary effort. This was already his last life-saving straw. Before leaving, he begged, "Big brother, don't leave me behind. I'm counting on you. Why would I leave you behind? Don't worry and go." Chu Yang was displeased. The Tang family's third young master left immediately. Behind Chu Yang, Tai Butian, Wu Qian, Tan Tan and the others were trying their best to hold back their laughter. The Tang family's third young master, who had received someone's solemn promise, once again rolled away like a mule with a knife in its butt. However, this time, there was a bit more joy in his heart. Having hope was always better than having no hope. Now that he had this life-saving straw, at least he didn't have to worry so much that he couldn't sleep at night. "Big brother Chu, don't worry. I will do my best to get things done properly. Whether it's basic necessities of clothing, food, housing, transportation, or training, as long as you have enough money, I will definitely get them. But don't forget to grease my hands." The Tang family's third young master really wasn't boasting this time. The Tang family's identity as a local tyrant, which had been entrenched for hundreds of thousands of years, had a long history and connections. As long as there was something in this world, as long as you had money, it wouldn't be a problem. So far, Chu Yang had truly solved the supply and demand problem of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. From now on, the Tang family's third young master was officially in charge of external affairs of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Although Chu Yang hadn't officially acknowledged it, it was already an established fact. At least, Huyen Aobo, Madame Mai and the others who were originally in charge of these things could settle down and cultivate. Chu Yang could also be considered to have solved a major problem in his heart. Next, Chu Yang focused his attention on the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit. Chu Yang deeply understood one thing. There was a blood feud between him and Heavenly Emperor Mo Yun, Yuan Tianjie. The other party wouldn't let him off just because of a momentary failure. As long as he didn't die, the other party would definitely not let him off. Although the two sides were currently in two different worlds and were somewhat out of reach, with Mo Yun Tian's strength, as long as Yuan Tianjie really made a move, it would definitely be like a thunderbolt. Now, it wasn't just a simple hatred of killing. There was also Meng Wu Ya and his Dream Slayer army. These were all related to Heavenly Emperor Mo Yun, Yuan Tianjie's personal problems. Yuan Tianjie couldn't possibly ignore it and not take revenge at all. He believed that as long as the other party made a move, then his seemingly prosperous Heavenly Armament Pavilion really might not be able to withstand the other party's torment. Therefore, right now, the most important thing was to raise his strength. After all, tyrannical strength was the absolute truth. The reason why Chu Yang chose to put these people under extreme pressure to train with their lives was in fact to prepare for this matter, the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit. From what Chu Yang knew, there were really a lot of such strange-shaped fruits inside. Moreover, the medicinal power of each fruit was incomparably strong. Just a small part of it was enough to raise the overall battle power of his Heavenly Armament Pavilion by at least a big level. He remembered that back then in the Heavenly Continent, after at least 10% of the fruit's medicinal power was used up, and then shared with him and more than 10 supreme martial artists, it was only barely enough to divide and absorb the remaining medicinal power. Even so, everyone was almost about to explode. But it was also because of that time that he and his brother's strength rushed to the level of a lower supreme martial artist in one fell swoop. Every time Chu Yang thought about it, his heart was burning with passion, but also with lingering fear. Since the last time, until now, Chu Yang hadn't given up on exploring, but he still hadn't found out what level the true medicinal power of that fruit could reach. What level? Previously, it was said that it had been used up, but that was only at least 10%. Perhaps it had been used up. Or even more. Even now, Chu Yang was still worried whether the energy contained in this fruit could make a saint explode. When he took the fruit, he was only a 7th supreme martial artist, and the remaining 10% or only 10% of the fruit's medicinal power was shared with more than 10 people. The difference between a 7th supreme martial artist and his current saint level was a great distance. But Chu Yang still wasn't sure that he could bear it. The main thing was that the experience last time was too frightening. Even with Chu Yang's audacity, he didn't dare to act rashly. Ask General Meng to come in. Chu Yang frowned and thought for a while, and finally made up his mind. Not long after, Meng Wuya came in with a face full of doubts. During this period, he also felt that his physique seemed to have changed, and the bottleneck that he hadn't succeeded in breaking through for many years was also showing signs of loosening. He was making use of the time to urge his subordinates to practice, and didn't know why Chu Yang called him over. It seemed that Chu Yang was as busy as he was. Chapter 22-26. Minister, what orders do you have? Meng Wu Ya's admiration for Chu Yang had increased over the past few days. His subordinates made breakthroughs one after another in a short period of time after using Chu Yang's method to practice martial art. This kind of achievement, this kind of grand occasion, was the first time in Meng Wu Ya's long life that he had seen it. For the first time, Meng Wu Ya was full of confidence in Chu Yang's slaughter of the heavenly demons. As long as they continued to improve, the heavenly demon army would be nothing. It's like this. Chu Yang deliberated over his words and said, General Meng, there is one thing that I am somewhat hesitant about. I can't make up my mind. Well, I don't know if General Meng believes that on the road of martial arts, it is possible to advance 1,000 miles in one step or even reach the heavens in one step. Meng Wu Ya was startled. This saying naturally exists if it is a special case. Especially for low-level martial artists, they can advance 1,000 miles in one step or even reach the heavens in one step if they take some kind of extremely rare heavenly treasure, or if they have been enlightened by a powerhouse. However, this kind of situation is generally reflected in martial artists below the saint level. Generally speaking, once a martial artist reaches the saint level, the amount of heaven and earth's spiritual energy required is relatively large. Therefore, this kind of special case is relatively rare. Meng Wu Ya was undoubtedly telling the truth, but he still hesitated for a moment and said, however, this is also a matter of method. Legend has it that there are some very rare and secret methods that are still possible, but we don't know about them. For example, this kind of extreme training that Minister has just mentioned. Chu Yang smiled. General Meng, do you really think that this kind of extreme training that everyone is going through right now, without the addition of external forces, the results would be so obvious? Meng Wu Ya also smiled. The so-called extreme training was not unfamiliar to any martial artist. However, some people had trained themselves to death, and there was absolutely no such thing as a collective breakthrough in the army. He had long had doubts in his heart. Chu Yang certainly had other methods, but if Chu Yang didn't say it himself, Meng Wu Ya wouldn't rashly inquire about it. This kind of big secret, the less people who knew, the safer it would be. Meng Wu Ya still had a sense of propriety in this matter. But now that he heard Chu Yang take the initiative to mention it, he knew that Chu Yang was ready to solve the mystery. He smiled and said, Please enlighten me. I have a very special treasure of heaven and earth. Chu Yang began to condense his voice into a line. He used the secret voice-sending technique. This kind of heavenly treasure can increase a person's cultivation to the extreme, and even improve a person's physique. During this period of time, we used this to create a huge miracle of thousands of people improving their cultivation. As the saying goes, everyone knows how to use magic tricks, and each one is ingenious and different. This is the key to my magic trick, so that's how it is. Meng Wu Ya suddenly realized. Then, he felt strange. In this world, he had never heard of such a tyrannical heavenly treasure. May I ask the minister what kind of heavenly treasure this is? Is it possible to bestow a name? Meng Wu Ya asked curiously. It's a type of fruit. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, but now, we're faced with a difficult choice. If we continue to use this fruit on a large scale, the effect won't be very great. However, if we rashly give it to a single person, the medicinal effect will be too great. Even experts like you and me who have reached the level of saint may not be able to bear it. We might even explode on the spot from the enormous medicinal effect. And if we can't digest it, we'll be separated from the netherworld. Chu Yang smiled bitterly and said, "So, how should we use this thing? I want to discuss with General Meng. Can it really make a saint explode? How can there be such an amazing fruit in this world?" Meng Wuye asked in shock. Meng Wuye found it hard to believe that a saint-level expert would explode from overeating to the point of bursting. However, Chu Yang's words really sounded as if they were true. "It's really hard to say." Chu Yang smiled bitterly and said, "I don't know how great the medicinal effect of this fruit is, but it's not impossible to say that it could make a saint explode. In the past, after at least half of the medicinal effect of this fruit dissipated, Chu Yang recounted what happened in the past." Meng Wuye frowned and pondered. According to what Minister Chu said, the medicinal effect of this fruit shouldn't be a threat to you or me. Meng Wuye said, "Minister Chu Yang said at most that time in the Heavenly Imperial Court. At most, he would be at the level of mortal level. Maybe even lower. And the difference between mortal level and earth level is more than 10 times. And the difference between earth level and heaven level is more than 10 times. And the difference between heaven level and saint level is even greater. As for heavenly level and saint level, the difference is even greater. The difference between heaven level and saint level is like the difference between heaven and earth. It's like the difference between an elephant and an ant. Even if the energy contained in this fruit is beyond our imagination, I believe that it won't exceed the limit of a saint level." Meng Wuye was obviously very cautious when he said this. Because he knew that as long as there was a mistake in his analysis, it could lead to serious consequences that couldn't be reversed. The only outcome for a saint-level cultivator was to disappear into thin air and die. Not even a bit of his soul would be left behind. In the truest sense, his soul would be destroyed and he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Meng Wuye's words would be the basis for Chu Yang's use of this heavenly treasure in the future. Chu Yang pondered again. After a long time, Chu Yang said in a deep voice, "General Meng, I called you here today to ask you to help me determine the limit of this fruit's efficacy. There is another purpose. Or rather, the other purpose is the main purpose. That is to ask you to help me test the efficacy of this heavenly treasure and the limit of a saint-level cultivator." Meng Wuye listened and nodded. He wanted to ask Chu Yang to test it, but he was afraid that Chu Yang would suspect that he had ulterior motives. After all, this kind of heavenly treasure could only be encountered and not sought. Even if there were some risks, the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. If such a magical heavenly treasure was swallowed by him, it would be hard to avoid suspicion of selfishness. This was easy to say but not pleasant to hear. Now that Chu Yang proposed it, there was no problem. Meng Wuye also did not hold back. He said, "I am willing to take a gamble." Meng Wuye understood that Chu Yang had said these words after careful consideration. The reason why Chu Yang had asked him to do the experiment was also due to his thorough calculations. The situation now seemed stable, but in fact, danger lurked everywhere. Changes could happen at any time. Chu Yang might be stronger, so Chu Yang had endless trump cards. In the worst case, he could escape with his life. Even if Chu Yang's trump cards were exposed, Mo Yuntian might not be able to see through Chu Yang's entire background. After all, it was too far away and they had little contact. But he was different. Mo Yuntian was too familiar with him. Whether it was his cultivation or fighting style, almost everyone in the upper management of Mo Yuntian knew about him. Especially among the saint-level cultivators, it could be said that they knew each other very well. Once some super experts came over, he could only wait helplessly for death when facing them. There was absolutely no chance of luck. So the person in the most danger now was not Chu Yang, but himself. It could be said that if he did not use this medicine, or if Chu Yang did not happen to have such a magical fruit, he would definitely not be able to escape death. As long as he was found by the enemy, the outcome was already decided. If this kind of heavenly treasure was really too powerful, and he could not bear it and exploded to death, then it was no different from being killed by the enemy. Either way, he would die. It might even be better because he would die quickly. But if he was captured by the enemy and brought back to Mo Yuntian, he might encounter unimaginable pain and suffering. On the other hand, if this kind of heavenly treasure did not cause him to explode, but instead allowed him to raise his cultivation by a large margin, then the chances of him escaping with his life, or even turning defeat into victory, would undoubtedly increase greatly. So this gamble, although he had to gamble with his life, but it was still a gamble with the benefits outweighing the disadvantages. What in the world was not a gamble? If he did not place a bet, he would never win. Chu Yang looked deeply at Meng Wu Yue and said, "General Meng, have you thought it through? This process may not be as easy as you think." Meng Wu Yue nodded solemnly. "Minister, I understand your intentions. Life and death are predestined, gains and losses are up to the heavens." His eyes had a deep sense of gratitude. It was not that Chu Yang could not experiment with this medicine. Moreover, if Chu Yang took it, the success rate would be much higher than Meng Wu Yue's. But once the experiment was successful, the amount of this fruit would be limited. There were too many people who needed to take it. Meng Wu Yue had just come over and had not done anything. If he was given it, how would people be convinced? Even though Chu Yang's prestige was very high, it was still unavoidable to plant a little negative seed. But if it involved life and death, once it failed, Meng Wu Yue would die. That was another matter. Even if he succeeded, Meng Wu Yue would become the first beneficiary. No one would be jealous or feel that it was unfair. Because Meng Wu Yue had risked his life to achieve this result. And it was for everyone. In this way, Meng Wu Yue would instead become a hero of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. He would be the first to integrate into the core of Heavenly Armament Pavilion. And it would be accompanied by a substantial increase in strength. Even though Chu Yang was using Meng Wu Yue to test the medicine, and the risks were unpredictable, but he had indeed put a lot of thought into it. Just as Meng Wu Yue had said, if a medicine could cause a saint to explode, then it would not be a heavenly treasure, but the world's #1 poison. Because even after Chu Le'er had studied the poison scripture, she had discovered that the highest level of poison recorded in the poison scripture could only weaken a saint's cultivation to a certain extent. It was absolutely impossible to poison a saint to death. Chapter 22-27. These days, I have a premonition. Meng Wu Yue let out a long sigh. Mo Yuntian's revenge is about to come. With His Majesty's temperament, it's very likely that something unexpected has happened for him to be able to endure for so long. Otherwise, I'm afraid that someone would have come 2 months ago. I just don't know what kind of unforeseen event happened. Meng Wu Yue's eyes were filled with intense worry. Will Marshal Mu be able to protect you? Will you all encounter unfair treatment because of me? Let's begin. Meng Wu Yue's eyes turned clear as he urged. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, "I will protect you during this period of time. You have to remember that this medicine can't be exposed to the public. Once it's taken out of the storage area, the efficacy of the medicine will quickly take effect. General Meng, if you don't feel confident, you can wait a little longer before taking it. No matter what, I don't want anything to happen to you. We still have to fight side by side against the heavenly demons." Meng Wu Yue nodded seriously, indicating that he understood. "Pay attention," Chu Yang said in a low voice. Meng Wu Yue's spirit shook. The next moment, Chu Yang reached his hand into the tribulation space. His palm pressed against the thin layer of the seal that was once unbreakable. With a little force, it penetrated the seal. When his palm felt the strange square-shaped feeling of the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit, Chu Yang had already retracted his hand. He opened his palm, and the magical fruit appeared in his palm. Although Meng Wu Yue was a knowledgeable person, it was still the first time he saw such a square-shaped fruit in this world. The words on it were spinning rapidly. Countless amounts of pure spirit qi gushed out and filled the entire world. "Give it to me." Meng Wu Yue did not wait for Chu Yang to react. He had already snatched the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit. The next moment, he stuffed it into his mouth without hesitation. It would be a pity to waste even the slightest bit of spiritual energy of such a heavenly treasure. When Chu Yang said that, Meng Wu Yue had already made up his mind. How could he allow the slightest bit of medicinal energy of such a heavenly treasure to spread? If he really could not absorb all of it, he would definitely tell Chu Yang how much medicinal energy the fruit had before he exploded. Where was the limit? Therefore, even though he had agreed to it on the surface, Shang-Xin had already made other plans in her heart. Chu Yang's expression subconsciously tensed up. Seeing Meng Wu Yue swallow the heaven and earth arcane yellow fruit in one gulp, Chu Yang couldn't help but take a deep breath and raise his entire cultivation. If Meng Wu Yue was in a situation where he was unable to digest the excess energy, then Chu Yang would use all of his cultivation to absorb half of the medicinal efficacy with the whale swallowing scattering technique. No matter how overbearing this fruit was, it was impossible for it to explode two sages at once. In fact, this was also a fundamental test. Chu Yang already had a plan for this. Meng Wu Yue would definitely not to die. But if Meng Wu Yue had expressed his unwillingness to test the medicine from the beginning, Chu Yang would not have forced him. But from then on, he would have to re-evaluate Meng Wu Yue. The facts proved that Chu Yang did not disappoint, and Meng Wu Yue did not disappoint Chu Yang. This could not be blamed on Chu Yang's caution. Or rather, it could be said that Meng Wu Yue's military talent was too important in Chu Yang's plan. In the future, he would lead millions of his brothers onto the battlefield. A single mistake could bring about irreparable losses. Chu Yang could not allow himself to make any mistakes. Although the probing this time was indeed somewhat dishonorable, it was imperative and had no choice but to be carried out. No matter what, he had to do it. Even if he felt guilty, he had to feel guilty for once. Under Chu Yang's close watch, Meng Wu Yue's body emitted a burst of intense white light almost as soon as he swallowed the heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit. Then, the white light became brighter and brighter, completely enveloping Meng Wu Yue's entire body. Chu Yang could clearly see that Meng Wu Yue's originally white face turned red in an instant. Obviously, the test he was enduring was quite severe, and there was a danger of his body exploding. The heaven-earth mystery yellow fruit was a super elixir that did not belong to this world. The first time it was used, it was indeed terrifying. Although Meng Wu Yue's body was trembling slightly, he still spoke calmly and steadily. "Don't worry." Meng Wu Yue's voice was very clear. He was using all his strength to guide the energy flow into his meridians and into his dantian. At the same time, he was carefully observing, feeling, and giving the most accurate assessment. Multitasking like this, unless one had reached a certain level, it was absolutely impossible to do it with such a huge amount of energy. Take Chu Yang as an example. Because of his cultivation method and his physique, his endurance might be far above Meng Wu Yue's. But if the current situation was reversed on Chu Yang might be able to cope with it more easily, but he would definitely not be able to multitask and speak like Meng Wu Yue. This was not only a matter of cultivation, but also a difference in mental state. Most importantly, it was the difference in hundreds of thousands of years of experience. This elixir is indeed a rare treasure. It can be said that this is the first rare treasure I have seen in hundreds of thousands of years. Meng Wu Yue's voice was very calm. All the so-called heavenly treasures I have seen before are like dregs compared to this fruit. This is definitely not an exaggeration. The effect of this fruit is indeed great, but it is still far from enough to make a saint explode. Meng Wu Yue continued to comment. But if a beginner heaven man consumes this fruit, he will definitely explode in the first moment. If a heaven man consumes it, the chances of him being able to bear it if he does not have great perseverance is also not high. If a heaven man consumes the whole fruit, there will probably be no problem. Moreover, if he can fully utilize the energy of this fruit, he will have a great chance of breaking through the boundary of a saint. As for now, I have been at the peak of the beginner saint level for tens of thousands of years, but I have never been able to break through the bottleneck. However, if I fully absorb the energy of this fruit, I will definitely be able to break through the bottleneck and reach the first stage of the saint level. But there is still a considerable distance to reach the second stage. This fruit is definitely worthy of being called the world's #1 rare treasure. It's just that this fruit seems to have a special effect, which is that in the meridians, this medicinal effect will last for a very, very long time. It won't dissipate easily, so a person can only use it at most once in their lifetime. If you consume too much of it, the elixir will accumulate, and it will be difficult to activate the original effect. It will only be a waste. That would be too much of a pity. Of course, this is a theoretical statement. For a person to be able to obtain such a miraculous fruit in his lifetime is already a great fortune cultivated over several generations. If you want more, it will only damage your own fortune. Meng Wu Ya accurately commented. Chu Yang pondered and deliberated. Meng Wu Ya's comments were basically the same as his original speculation. This was probably the case. After Meng Wu Ya finished his evaluation, he began to absorb the energy of the fruit wholeheartedly. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he did not grasp it properly, he would be the world's #1 idiot. Since he had finished his explanation, Meng Wu Ya quickly entered a state where he forgot about everything and concentrated on cultivation. Chu Yang looked at the expression on Meng Wu Ya's face. It had already slowly returned to normal. His whole body was emitting a rich holy white light. Chu Yang felt relieved. Finally, Meng Wu Ya was about to break through his own boundary. At this time, he could no longer stay here. At this moment, Meng Wu Ya no longer needed protection. If he was not careful and was targeted by the heavenly punishment, he would not be afraid. But it would make Meng Wu Ya's heavenly punishment more than double its power. In that case, he would really be the one who caused Meng Wu Ya's death. Chu Yang tiptoed and carefully walked out. Then, he called out to the others and left at least 1,000 feet away from here. After a long while, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly rushed over like galloping horses. Chu Yang suddenly remembered, oh no, I've just finished decorating the study, and old Meng has ruined it just like that. Just as he was letting his imagination run wild, the sky suddenly turned pitch black. Then, a thin black lightning zigzagged down. The entire land suddenly began to tremble. The heavenly punishment at the level of a saint had once again descended on Luohua city. The corners of Chu Yang's mouth revealed a trace of a sincere smile. This time, Tianfa also meant that there was going to be another saint-level expert in his camp. Zi Xiecheng quickly walked to Chu Yang's side. Looking at the dark sky and the black lightning, which was even more oppressive than the heavenly punishment she had to endure that day, she asked, Meng Wu Ya? Chu Yang nodded. How did he improve? In his condition, it is impossible for him to break through so easily. What help did you give him? Zi Xiecheng was eager to try. I did give him a heavenly treasure. But you have just recently broken through. For the time being, you should focus on stabilizing your own state. It is not suitable for you to break through so quickly. Chu Yang smiled. Zi Xiecheng sighed and said, how could I not know this logic? But your current situation seems safe but is actually dangerous. Every additional bit of strength you have will make you safer. So I thought. Chapter 22-28. Why would I care about you? I'm just afraid that your enemies will come and drag me down when they see me together with you. But since you're looking for trouble, I'll naturally fulfill your wish. Come at me if you're not afraid of death. Zi Xiecheng's face turned red and she was filled with murderous intent. She naturally knew that Chu Yang still hadn't forgotten about the bet. She was still thinking about it and still wanted to do that and that. But I won't let you do it. If you really dare to come, I'll let you know why the flowers are so red. Zi Xiecheng gritted her teeth and thought bitterly. It seemed that with Meng Wuya's breakthrough, Chu Yang had once again entered the next period of rapid development. The divine spirit of the calamity had been floating outside. Now, as long as it saw the falling flowers every day, the divine spirit of the calamity would feel happy from the bottom of its heart. The huge amount of evil qi accumulated over the past 1,000,000 years was becoming weaker and weaker. Yang Kai believed that in time, it would definitely be completely eliminated. When all the evil qi was eliminated, it would probably be the time when Tribulation's divine soul ascended to a new realm. And Brother Tiger, his strength had completely recovered. During this period of time, he was getting lazier and lazier. Every day, he would squat on Chu Yang's shoulder and take a nap on Tai Butian's or Wu Qianqian's shoulders. Every day, he would look sleepy and unable to wake up from his slumber. This situation made Chu Yang really angry. It was really hard to imagine how this guy could cultivate to such a level when he was so lazy. How could those cultivators who cultivated hard every moment of every day endure this? Chu Yang took out a batch of heaven-earth arcane yellow fruits. Therefore, the three medicine spirits joined hands and hugged Chu Yang's thighs, desperately trying to keep one for themselves. Then, Zi Xieching had one, Chu Yang had one, Wang Dao and the others shared one, Huyan Aobua and the other brothers' wives shared one. Lightning Snake, Du and Sunkong and the other three saber men shared two. And some were scattered throughout the heavenly armament pavilion. They sat in rows and shared the fruits. In short, on the night of the fruit sharing, thunder rumbled in the sky above the heavenly armament pavilion. The noise was more than 100 times louder and lasted for the whole night. On this day, the sky was clear and cloudless, and the sun was shining high in the sky. Falling flowers were everywhere. It was rare for the people of the heavenly armament pavilion to break through to a new stage today. No one attracted the heavenly punishment. The whole Luohua city was relieved. The Tang family's third young master ran over to report the good news, grinning from ear to ear. Under Chu Yang's strong support, his auction house had been gathering wealth from all over the world in one place. Under the temptation of the endless precious treasures that Chu Yang took out, the huge amount of purple cloud coins was like the rising tide of the sea, one wave after another, each wave higher than the previous one. The Tang family's third young master directly counted the money until his hands cramped up. Then, he brazenly did something. He transferred 20 people from the family. Your mission is to specifically count the money for this old man. You must count clearly for me. I'll get 2 more people to do the bookkeeping. Then, the 22 of you will work full-time, counting money and keeping account. Then, he ran over to find Chu Yang. Wahahaha. Big brother Chu, you are my idol from the bottom of my heart. You are my dream lover. You are my... The Tang family's third young master, who was as tall as a bamboo pole, rushed over at lightning speed. He was overflowing with enthusiasm. Don't, please don't. Which part of me did you see? I'll change, okay? Minister Chu panicked and dodged. It was really not a good thing to be remembered by a man like this. Please don't change, I just admire you too much. The Tang family's third young master was about to pounce on him again. Calm down. Chu Yang raised his hands and begged for mercy. Don't be agitated, please don't be agitated, I can't stand this. Big brother, you don't know, we have made a fortune. The Tang family's third young master swayed his butt on the spot, singing and dancing around Chu Yang with his face flushed red. His saliva could almost cover the whole Luohua city. We have made a fortune. Ha ha ha, we have made a fortune. Dong 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 dong, dong dong dong, dong dong chong chong dong dong chong. Everyone closed their eyes and turned their heads away, unable to bear the sight. Zi Xieching looked at a certain singing and dancing bamboo pole and was speechless for a moment. Without waiting for Chu Yang to speak, the Tang family's third young master suddenly seemed to have remembered something important. He shouted and laughed loudly, then suddenly turned around and ran away like a galloping horse. As he ran, he shouted and laughed, "Her her her her, dong 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 dong. Fuck, I forgot, how could I forget?" In an instant, he was like a horse that had its butt chopped by a knife. He turned a corner and disappeared. His speed was so fast that even Chu Yang and Zi Xieching were surprised. What is he doing here? What is he doing here? Chu Yang looked at the people around him in confusion. I don't know. Everyone shook their heads in unison. They were also confused. This guy ran over like this, then excitedly swayed his butt and danced yanko, singing and dancing for a while, and then ran away. From the beginning to the end, they were confused. What kind of rhythm was this? Everyone was stunned for a while. Suddenly, one person burst out laughing, and then the whole crowd burst into laughter. Presumably, this guy was so excited that he couldn't tell north from south anymore. That's why he made such a scene. Just as they were laughing, everyone's expressions suddenly tensed up. They saw dark clouds gathering in the sky like a mountain. Could it be that someone has attracted heavenly punishment again? That was impossible. Who was it? Everyone looked at the dark clouds in the sky, confused. With a swoosh, Xi Xieching took the lead and leaped into the clouds. After a short while, he returned. Between the heavens and the earth, everything is like this. It is as if dark clouds have filled the entire Demon Emperor sky. What's going on? Isn't it a little too loud? Chu Yang was extremely puzzled about this. As the saying goes, there is no wind within 10 miles, and no rain within 100 miles. Even if it was because of the weather that the entire Demon Emperor's sky was attacked by wind and rain, there should still be a sequence of events. It was impossible to say that all the days were cloudy. That was impossible. It did not conform to the weather standards at all. However, the current situation was clear. What exactly was going on? Even the heavens had turned against him. What day is it today? Meng Wu Ye calmly asked. It's the beginning of December. Someone at the side answered. That's right. Meng Wu Ye said, tomorrow is the 10th of December. It is said that it is the birthday of the Demon Empress. It is said that the Demon Empress likes snow very much. Every time during her birthday, the entire Demon Emperor's sky will snow. Even if it doesn't snow, it will. This weather is actually caused by humans. Demon Emperor's sky is covered in snow. Everyone asked in shock. Yes, that's right. Meng Wu Ye nodded and said emotionally, I've only heard of it before. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I still feel shocked. If a person's lifetime achievement could be admired by the world like the Demon Empress, how would it feel? Everyone was speechless. That's right. At this stage in life, what else could a man ask for? Only Chu Yang thought, what kind of scene would it be if he broke through the realm of Die? Under everyone's witness, the dark clouds in the sky gradually thickened. Then, wisps of white clouds drifted over from the sky. The white clouds moved under the dark clouds, like a jade belt around one's waist. It was like a peerless beauty was covered in a dreamy white veil. Then, large snowflakes fluttered down from the sky. There was no wind for thousands of miles. Only the pure white snow drifted down to the mortal world without any interruption. Faintly, there were wisps of powerful divine senses passing through. That was the joint effort of the Demon Empress Sky's saints to create snow in the entire world to celebrate the Demon Empress' birthday. A soft chant, like a dreamy voice, rang out in the sky of the Demon Empress sky. The voice seemed very soft, but everyone could hear it clearly. The Demon Emperor has been the Holy Mother since ancient times. She looks down and laughs at the wind and clouds. Her lotus heart and jade bones reach the heavens. She decides life and death with one hand. Thousands of mountains and valleys are grateful for her kindness. Celebrate my Holy Mother's birthday. Pure as ice and jade, pure as jade, pure as ice and pure as jade. Snow drifts down from the heavens. The 4 billion living beings of the Demon Emperor's sky wholeheartedly pray for the Demon Empress' birthday. Let the world celebrate together. Eternal youth, forever. That solemn voice, filled with sincere prayers, echoed in the sky over and over again. Within the boundaries of the Demon Emperor's sky, all living beings knelt down and prayed to this heavenly emperor. At this moment, all those who belonged to the demon race, no matter where they were, would prostrate themselves on the ground and kowtow to give their heartfelt blessings. There were too many people who directly prostrated themselves on the streets and in the bustling city, sincerely kowtowing. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts were suddenly filled with shock. The birthday of the Demon Emperor's sky and the Demon Empress was so deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The prestige of the Demon Empress was actually so great. If one's life could be like this, then it would not be in vain. In the distance, there were 3 figures flying over in the form of rainbows. They had already entered the boundary of the Demon Emperor's sky. However, the moment they entered the boundary of the Demon Emperor's sky, the three figures immediately felt that the entire sky was filled with tyrannical spiritual energy. The three of them were all peak experts of the current era. Naturally, they could feel it at the first moment. Seeing the situation, they couldn't help but be shocked. The three of them didn't know the situation, so how could they dare to be careless? They immediately stopped and decided to assess the situation before making any plans. However, there was already a dignified voice that asked, "Who are you people? How dare you trespass into the Demon Emperor's sky at this moment?" The three of them looked at each other and said, "Heavenly Ink Cloud, 3 7-star guards. We are here to carry out urgent business. We have no intention to offend the Heavenly Emperor. Please let us pass." That cold and indifferent voice said, "Let us pass? Impossible. For the next month, no one is allowed to fly in the sky of the Demon Emperor's sky. Otherwise, we will kill without mercy." Originally, when they heard that Heavenly Ink Cloud was here, they thought that these people were here to celebrate the Demon Empress' birthday or to deliver gifts on behalf of the Heavenly Emperor of Ink Cloud, Yuan Tianjie. If these three people were really here to celebrate the birthday or to deliver gifts, based on the strength that they had displayed, the Demon Emperor's sky and even the Demon Empress herself would have to be indebted. Because these three people's strength was there for all to see. But the truth was that they were here to carry out a mission in the Demon Emperor's sky. The situation was completely different. Instantly, this demon race expert felt a breath stuck in his throat. Tomorrow is New Year's Day. I wish everyone a happy day. Also, the last time I wished heaven-breaking old Ka's birthday, I saw the wrong date. So today is. This fellow is so wronged that he wants to die. He said that I changed his date of birth. Asterisk cough cough asterisk this matter, star. Chapter 22-29. This Demon Emperor Heaven Saint expert was extremely furious. Damn it, why is your Demon Emperor Heaven's mission so tight? Why do you have to carry out a mission on this Demon Empress' birthday? You don't give me any face at all. It can't be on purpose, right? Kill without mercy? What big words. One of the three sneered, not to mention you, even your Demon Empress might not dare to say something like kill without mercy to us three brothers. To be honest, with the strength of the three of them, the Demon Empress had a high chance of victory if she were to fight the three of them by herself. However, if she wanted to take them down in one go, it was still beyond her ability. If the three of them wanted to retreat unscathed, they naturally had the confidence to do so. Therefore, even though it was very unlucky for them to say such words, it wasn't considered boasting. But saying such words at this moment, on the Demon Empress' birthday, was undoubtedly like poking a hornet's nest. The Demon Emperor Heaven Saint of the Umbra was also a saint expert. Although he was not as strong as the three of them, he could feel the terrifying aura of the other party. If it was a normal situation, he would most likely turn a blind eye and let them pass. After all, offending such a strong enemy for no reason was not wise. But today, no matter what, he could not let them go, especially when the three of them were spouting nonsense and insulting the Demon Empress' dignity. What's more, I've never heard of a 7-star bodyguard before. The Demon Empress' birthday was a huge issue that involved the entire Demon Emperor Heaven. He definitely could not let it go easily. If you really want to go your own way, don't blame my Demon Emperor Heaven for not having the etiquette of the pugilistic world. It is unavoidable to offend you. I hope you will think twice before you act. After the Demon Emperor Heaven expert finished speaking, he suddenly roared to the sky without any warning. Immediately after, his body also revealed itself from the mist. This demon was a saint-level expert of the Tiger tribe. Facing three powerhouses from the other side at the same time, he naturally didn't dare to be careless. Otherwise, he would have immediately sent out an emergency signal to ask for help. At this moment, his position was clear. As soon as he revealed himself, he immediately returned to his original state and raised his strongest combat power to increase his chances of winning. In the air, A huge multicolored tiger that was 100 feet long stood. Its sharp teeth were incomparably powerful. At this moment, he was roaring at the 3 powerful enemies in front of him. Any one of Mo Yunqian's 3 guards, if taken out individually, was once an omnipotent figure who could call the wind and summon the rain, running amok under the heavens, and no one dared to oppose them. However, they had never expected that they would be intercepted by a demon that was only a beginner-level saint after not coming out for more than 100,000 years. They had even announced their identities and tried to negotiate in a friendly manner, but the other party still didn't give them any face. Immediately, they were so angry that their livers hurt, their guts trembled, and their hearts tightened. Since when did the Jianghu become so lawless? He actually dared to take the initiative to attack the 3 of them. Provocation? The 3 of them were instantly enraged. Their faces were dark, and they didn't even have the mood to talk. They directly attacked, and their attacks were ruthless. The huge tiger let out a shrill roar, calling for its helpers to come and help, while it fought with all its might. However, the difference in strength between the 2 sides was too great. Even though the tiger was also a saint expert, it was definitely not a match for an existence that was at the peak of the saint level. Even though only one of the 3 of them came out, they still attacked with all their might in a fit of rage, not holding back at all. Back in the day, they were also kings in this heaven imperial court. With a loud roar, no one dared to disobey. Today, they had really lost a lot of face. In a fit of rage, they grabbed out, and the wind and clouds in the sky shook. Heaven and earth changed color. A huge hand that was like holy white jade suddenly formed. It was about a few thousand feet wide, and in just one move, it grabbed the huge tiger that was shaking its head and wagging its tail. With a slight squeeze, it smiled faintly and said, "Little tiger, you want to fight with me with your cultivation? Your standard is still a little lacking. I pity your cultivation, and you are also a subordinate of the Demon Empress. As long as you call me grandfather, I will let you go. However, you must remember, in the future, when you meet your grandfather's mission, run as far as you can." The tiger glared at the person angrily, struggling in the other party's hand. It scolded, "Why, you called me grandfather?" Sigh. Grandfather heard it. "Good grandson, you are really obedient." Despite being completely suppressed by the other party, he still dared to say such words. This tiger saint was truly a tough nut to crack. However, at this moment, it was a very special moment. The other party's anger had already completely exploded. The reason why he didn't immediately kill him was because he was in a foreign land and had some reservations. Furthermore, there was the huge threat of the Demon Empress. Therefore, he wanted to get some benefits and find a way out. However, he didn't expect that he didn't get any benefits and was instead taken advantage of by the other party. Naturally, he was adding fuel to the fire, and was unable to restrain his anger. "Little tiger, you are courting death. Since you want to die so much, I will fulfill your wish." The 7 Stars guard laughed sinisterly. His huge palm slowly tightened and gradually retracted, but he still left some leeway. After all, he was in a foreign land, and he didn't want to do things to the extreme. If he did, it would definitely cause unnecessary trouble. Although the 7 Stars guard was vicious, he still hoped that the Tiger Saint would quickly give in and say a few nice words. Then, he would be able to take advantage of the situation. However, the Tiger Saint glared at him fiercely and didn't have any intention of begging for mercy. Instead, his aura increased. The white jade palm gradually retracted and didn't stop at all. The sound of bones cracking could be heard continuously. The muscles on the Tiger Saint's tiger face had already started to spasm. Large beads of sweat dripped down continuously, but he still didn't make a sound. It seemed like he didn't even have the slightest bit of fear. How stubborn. Just based on your stubbornness, as long as you beg for mercy now, I will let you go. The 7 Stars guard's eyes flashed. He still didn't want to go to the extreme. Fuck your mother's fart. I beg your mother's mercy. The Tiger Saint cursed loudly. By the time he cursed the last word, he had already spat out a mouthful of blood. Since you want to die so much, I will fulfill your wish. The Seven Stars guard couldn't maintain his composure anymore. As his eyes turned sharp, his hand tightened again and he quickly retracted it. Stop! A loud roar came from afar. Faintly, a few figures could be seen flying over at high speed like a meteor chasing after the moon. However, the Seven Stars guard only smiled faintly. Not only did he have no intention of stopping, he even increased the speed of his retraction. The cracking sounds became more and more intense as time passed. After being provoked like this, if he still let him go, he would have to stuff his face in his pant. The tiger saint only had time to let out a low groan. All the bones in his body were broken inch by inch. There was no sign of them being intact. Tiger! A heart-wrenching roar came from afar. More than 10 figures appeared in front of the three with a swoosh. Everyone had an indescribable look of grief and indignation on their faces. They stared at the 3 people in front of them as if they wanted to eat them alive. Yo, we only beat one and now there's a whole group. The Seven Stars guard's hand shook the tiger saint's body. He said indifferently, "What? Do you want to come at me together? This seat will take on all of you alone. I will play with you." Put the person down, quickly put the tiger down. The person opposite him was a man in a green robe. At this moment, his face was also emitting dense green gas. His eyes were extremely furious. Put him down? Ha ha ha. The Seven Stars guard looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Put him down. Do you think you can still save him? As long as this seat takes action, how can there be any survivors? Since he had already made his move, the matter was already done. Both sides' standpoints were clear. Naturally, the Seven Stars guard no longer had any misgivings. He said everything he wanted to say. Then, he casually threw the tiger saint's tattered body out, blood spurting everywhere. The 2 people opposite him rushed out to catch it at the same time. However, they were forced to take 2 steps back by the huge force attached to it. They groaned in unison. However, they were willing to bear this huge force and protect the tiger saint's body with their lives. Tiger, how are you? Several experts gathered together. The tiger saint opened his eyes with great difficulty. At this moment, he was clearly in a dying stage. What little remained of his spirit was gradually drifting away. All the bones and muscles in his body had also turned into powder. At this moment, although he could still condense into his original shape, he was already slowly drifting away. In such a state, there was no room for recovery. Even if Chu Yang was here and gave him the highest version of heavy elixir, it would be useless. The tiger saint's physical body was already on the verge of dissipating. There was no room for recovery even if there were elixirs. This was an injury that could not be cured. These 3 people are causing trouble. For me, revenge. The tiger saint's eyes widened. He struggled with all his might and said a few words. However, before he could finish, his gaze suddenly froze. He no longer moved. His huge body, starting from his limbs, slowly turned into flowing light and drifted away. Finally, it completely disappeared. Tiger. The 3 of them looked even more sorrowful. They screamed at the top of their lungs. They were brothers who had spent hundreds of thousands of years together and treated each other with sincerity. However, they were separated by a day and night. When they met again, they were already on the road of no return in such a miserable state. What kind of pain was this? I know that your last words were for us to avenge you. Avenge you. One of them roared at the sky and pounded his chest violently. Tears streamed down his face. Then, he transformed into a huge golden-furred lion that was thousands of feet tall. He roared at the sky, "I will definitely avenge you." Avenge you? Although the 3 Seven-Star guards did not want to fall out with Yarrow Huangtian, things had already come to this point. Their opposing sides were already clear. Naturally, they had no choice but to respond. He sneered, "Do you think you can avenge me with just the few of you?" The dozens of demon saints did not say another word. They all stood up with red eyes and launched an attack at the same time. The demon empress' birthday was disrupted. The demon race's dignity was challenged. Their demon brothers were killed. Chapter 22:30. The fact that the three of them came together to cause trouble was already an unforgivable crime. What's more, they had killed their own brothers, the experts of the monster race. They even killed the guards of the Demon Empress birthday celebration. At this moment, there was no need to say anything more. This hatred was absolutely irreconcilable. They could only fight. They would fight and use their lives to protect the dignity of the Demon Emperor Sky. Seeing the dozens of demon race experts charging at them like crazy, the 3 7-star guards sneered disdainfully. Although the cultivation of these people was not weak, they were definitely not in the eyes of the 3 7-star guards. The three of them even took a step forward lazily and started to fight with the enemy with an extremely casual attitude. As the saying goes, an old man playing a naughty child. This was the absolute difference in strength between them. Poof! That golden lion was suddenly stomped into the dust by a huge foot that appeared out of nowhere. It spat out a mouthful of blood and was heavily injured. Even a grain of rice dares to shine. Today, I will let you know what it means by there is always someone stronger than you. What it means to be powerful. Another person grabbed out casually and actually used his hand to grab the tail of another elephant that was hundreds of feet long. He then swung it up and smashed it into another expert of the demon race. The 2 experts of the demon race cried out in pain. Countless bones in their bodies had been broken by this collision. The other 7 to 8 experts of the demon race continued to fight while sending out voice transmissions to warn them that strong enemies were coming. An extremely urgent warning came from afar. The 3 7-star protectors were still smiling calmly. They were fighting leisurely. They didn't seem to have any intention of stopping the fight. To them, the current battle was not even a warm-up. It would be best if the other party could send a few people with enough weight to have a good discussion about this matter and quickly settle the matter. However, if the other party's attitude was really tough, they naturally did not mind fighting again. With the status of the 3 of them, killing a few saints in the Demon Emperor Sky was not a big deal. They naturally had the qualifications and weight to do so. However, the 3 of them did not expect that today was no longer a matter of status, nor was it a crime of killing a few people. This was the Demon Empress birthday celebration. The dignity of the entire Demon Emperor Sky had now been trampled beneath their feet, trampled to the point that it was worthless. If the 3 of them did not die, no one in the entire Demon Emperor Sky would be willing to let this matter rest. Even if the Demon Empress was willing to tolerate it, the Demon Emperor and the other great demons wouldn't be able to take it lying down. What's more, was the Demon Empress the kind of demon that was willing to give in? Since the 3 of them became 7-star guards, they basically didn't come out much. Even though their strengths were extremely formidable, their knowledge of the world was limited. Especially when it came to the Demon Empress birthday, they didn't have the slightest impression of it. However, it was also because of this that he had provoked this monstrous disaster. The bigger the fist, of course, represented the bigger the reason, but the truth of this layer of heaven was not applicable to all situations. For example, today, as the battle continued, the commotion grew bigger and bigger. More and more demonic beasts rushed over, and in just a few moments, all kinds of powerful divine senses arrived at the border of the Demon Emperor heaven. The moment the demons saw the scattered corpses of the Tiger Tribe saints on the ground, as well as the fact that a few of them were so heavily injured that they couldn't move, as well as the fact that the 3 enemies were toying with their own tribesmen like a cat playing with a mouse, they were instantly enraged. They immediately attacked. As for the reason, why would they waste their breath to ask for an explanation from the enemy under such circumstances? Then they wouldn't be demons, but idiotic demons. The rules of the pugilistic world were that whoever had the bigger fist was right. No matter what reason you had, let's fight first and talk later. In this aspect, the demon race was very different from the human race. When a human race martial artist encountered an expert who was stronger than them, as long as they weren't forced to, most of them would choose to avoid the fight temporarily and not act rashly in order to preserve their own lives. However, the demon race chose to become stronger when they met a stronger opponent. No matter how strong you were, if you were my enemy, I would fight with my life on the line and would never back down in terms of momentum. Just like now, a group of demon race experts arrived one after another. Even though they knew that the three enemies in front of them were super experts that they couldn't shake, they still charged forward and fought bravely, especially when they found out during the battle that the three of them were actually here to cause trouble for the Demon Empress' birthday. A tiger tribe saint tried to stop them, but was killed by them and even injured so many demon race experts, all of their eyes turned red. Their hatred soared to the level of national enmity, and all of them attacked as if they didn't care about their lives. The more the 3 7-star guards fought, the weirder it became. Even though they were able to fight with ease because of their strength, the situation in front of them was too strange. Logically speaking, this was only a remote area of the Demon Emperor sky, and there was no reason for so many experts to appear at the same time. But the reality was that more and more demon race experts were gathering. It was as if these people had gathered together to do something. The three of them became more and more surprised, and at the same time, they felt that the pressure on them was increasing. Because the people who came later were not only large in number, but they were also extraordinarily strong. Moreover, they fought with their lives on the line. No matter how strong an elephant was, once it was faced with a shocking number of ants, it could still be swallowed by a sea of ants. The number of demon race experts in front of them wasn't huge, but the difference between the two sides wasn't like an elephant and an ant. Although the 3 7-star guards couldn't cause any actual harm to the three of them, all of this was too abnormal. In other words, this meant that there was definitely something fishy about this. Speak, what's going on? The three of them exchanged glances and attacked at the same time, using all their strength to force the dozens of demon race experts who surrounded them out of the battle. What's going on? Now you want to ask what's going on? It's too late, the three of you must die here. Someone answered coldly, overflowing with murderous intent. You killed our people first and still dare to flaunt your strength. Now you're asking us what's going on? When you're all dead, the Yellow Springs won't be far away. Go ask the King of Hell. Under the continuous gathering, more and more demon race experts came after hearing the news. In addition, the army of the Demon Emperor Sky, which was the closest, had already started to march here as fast as lightning. At the same time, the sudden situation here had already been reported to the Demon Emperor Palace through a special secret communication method unique to the Demon Emperor Sky. On the day of the Demon Empress' birthday, Mo Yunqian's 3 great guards came to cause trouble. Moreover, they have already killed a few saint experts of our clan, including, other than confirmed dead, there are countless injured. We are currently in a stalemate, requesting for reinforcements. When such news reached the Demon Emperor Palace, it was imaginable how the higher-ups of the demon race would react. Every demon was bristling with anger, unable to restrain their anger, and extremely furious. Damn it, we didn't make things difficult for you, but you actually dared to come and cause trouble, and on such a special day. Last time, we already gave you enough face, but this time, you actually came to cause trouble again, and even worse. Do you really think that our Demon Emperor Sky is easy to bully? Coincidentally, the one who received the news was the beautiful woman in white who had just rushed back from Luohua City. Almost without thinking, she gave a death order. No matter who it is, kill them with all your strength. No matter what the reason is, kill without mercy. As soon as the order was given, the beautiful woman in white saw a white shadow flash in front of her. The main character of today's birthday, the master of the Demon Emperor Sky, the Demon Empress, appeared silently in front of her. Sister, Mo Yunqian's people are too much. They are too much, we must teach them a lesson. The beautiful woman in white said angrily. The Demon Empress faintly acknowledged and said, we definitely have to teach them a lesson. However, the person from Mo Yunqian's side is Yuan Tianjie's personal 7-star guard. The people you sent aren't enough. They can't touch them. The beautiful woman in white widened her eyes in surprise. We sent so many people, and it's still not enough. The Demon Empress nodded. These people are the strongest in the world. Even if I personally take action, I may not be able to take them down in one fell swoop. I have already ordered the 5 great guards of the Demon Emperor Sky to attack together. Since we have decided to take them down, we must not leave any leeway and go all out. However, This matter is very likely to cause a war between the two worlds. We must prepare for the aftermath. The beautiful woman in white was shocked. Ah, those people are actually so important. Killing them might even cause a great war between the two heavens and earth. If that's the case, should we let them live? The demon empress faintly said, I have already said, since our positions are clear, the ending is already decided. No matter who they are, no matter how important they are, and no matter what the consequences are, since they dared to cause trouble for me in these few days, they can only die. Not to mention them, even if the heavenly emperor of that side comes personally, so what? Since they have offended me, why not fight? Yes. The beautiful woman in white replied excitedly. Sister, remember, our demon emperor Sky is not afraid of fighting at any time. The demon empress snorted. An indescribable murderous aura suddenly soared into the sky and instantly filled the entire demon emperor sky. The aura of the demon empress at this moment was almost above the heaven and earth. It was a kind of super-heroic spirit that was not afraid of anything. The demon empress had not shown it for many years, and today, on her birthday, it actually flared up again. It seemed like she was also angered by the three great guards. Is it because I have not shown my prowess for so long that no one in the Heaven Layer Imperial Court knows of my prowess? First, they were overshadowed by the two emperors, then they crossed realms and started a war in my demon emperor sky. Now, they are going to fight with us directly. They even picked a particularly good day, as if they want to offend me on my birthday and embarrass me. If I continue to endure, I reckon no one will take me seriously anymore. This is intolerable. Chapter 2231. Yuan Tianjie. You shameless bastard. I gave you face, but you don't want it. The demon cursed angrily. The white-robed woman was dumbfounded. Is that little bastard back yet? The demon empress asked. He's been back for a few days, but he's been bringing his lover to the library to look for the highest inheritance of the Fox clan. He's been busy for a few days now. The white-robed woman wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. She was so frightened by her elder sister's Yuan Tianjie, you bastard. It had been a long time since she had seen her elder sister scold someone like that, right? And the person she was scolding was Heaven's Emperor of the Ink Cloud Heaven. This kind of shock was a little big. Confidant. The demon empress originally wanted to walk out, but when she heard this sentence, she abruptly turned her head while her eyes flickered with divine light. What confidant? It's a little girl from the Fox clan. This time, I met her by accident outside. Ningning fell in love with her at first sight, and he was very attentive to her every day. I think he's fulfilling elder sister's wish. The white-robed woman smiled. Ah! The demon empress was surprised, then he's no longer fantasizing about Miss C? Ha ha ha! The beautiful woman in white laughed. In fact, little Z already has a sweetheart. Moreover, after seeing that person, she punched and kicked him. Our Ning was so scared that his heart and liver trembled. Many times, he rejoiced and said to me, fortunately, Miss C didn't agree with him. Otherwise, I really can't live this day, ha. The demon empress laughed as well. Later, remember to ask that rascal to bring his confidant over for me to take a closer look at. That bastard, he didn't even tell me about such a big matter. Okay. The white-robed woman immediately left. The demon empress was right, this was indeed a big matter, and a super big matter in the entire demon emperor heaven. It was naturally a small matter for a normal family to find a wife, but for the only grand prince of the demon race to find a wife, it was definitely a big matter in the world, at least in the demon emperor heaven. This was because this wife was very likely to be the demon empress, and she needed to be the mother of the world. Not long after, Yarrow Ningning arrived with Bai Shixian trembling in fear. After countless years of accumulated power, Yarrow Ningning had developed a habitual fear. Whenever she saw her mother, her legs would tremble. It wasn't a fear of power, but a genuine fear of being beaten. In Yarrow Ningning's memories, the number of times she saw her mother not being beaten could be counted on one hand. At this moment, Bai Shixian was actually natural and unrestrained. Greetings to the Demon Empress. Following Chu Yang and Mo Qingwu, she had seen a lot of grand occasions. She had seen countless of the so-called heirs of kings. Now that he was meeting the Demon Empress, and it wasn't even in a formal setting, he didn't feel any discomfort. In view of this, even though it was the first time the Demon Empress saw Bai Shixian, she immediately had a favorable impression of her. However, when she carefully identified her, she was suddenly shocked. Wind Fox Race? Bai Shixian said, yes. The Demon Empress let out a long sigh of relief. I didn't expect the Wind Fox Race to still have descendants in this world. This Empress is truly surprised. As she spoke, she actually hesitated a lot. The Wind Fox Race had always been the race of beauties of the demon race. In the history of the Demon Emperor Heaven, most of the so-called beauties that could bring disaster to the country and the people were from the Wind Fox race. Therefore, the Wind Fox race was also called the Charming race. Later on, the Wind Fox race unintentionally offended someone with a great background. And this person's backer was the Saint Monarch's son. Because of this, they were convicted and were completely wiped out by the Saint Monarch's bodyguards. As this matter involved the Saint Monarch, even the Demon Empress was helpless. She originally thought that this race had already perished, but she never thought that the confidant her son had just made was actually a descendant of the Wind Fox. And it was a pure Wind Fox that had never cultivated the charming technique of the Wind Fox race. The cultivation inheritance of the Wind Fox race. I do have it here, but your nature is pure. It's a pity to cultivate that. The Demon Empress said, moreover, since you and Ningning have already reached this stage, it's better not to cultivate the inheritance of the Wind Fox race. The Demon Empress had already made up her mind in an instant. This time, it involved her son. Why would she care if he was a Saint Monarch or not? How about this? You can change to cultivating the inheritance of the demon race's royal family. This will be more beneficial to you. The Demon Empress made the final decision. Thank you, Mother. Yarrow Ningning was overjoyed. Bai Shixian blinked her eyes and was puzzled. Why can't Yarrow Ningning and I cultivate the inheritance of the Wind Fox race? She was truly an innocent little girl who didn't understand the world's affairs. The Demon Empress and the white-clothed beautiful woman were both speechless. You're going to be the Demon Empress in the future. Don't tell me you still have to cultivate those techniques to charm men. In private, Yarrow Ningning asked nervously, Mother, what do you think of Shixian? The Demon Empress snorted and said, barely passable. Thank you, Mother, for your help. Yarrow Ningning cheered. The Demon Empress couldn't help but laugh. You've really grown up. You know how to fight for the person you like in front of your mother. This was a sign that you've truly become a man. When the Demon Empress said you've grown up, she was very emotional and also quite gratified. Mother, this is a birthday gift from my newly acquainted brothers. Yarrow Ningning was genuinely happy. She took it out from the ring. This is from Miss Z, this is from Tan Tan, this is, Which big brother Chu of yours didn't give a birthday gift? The Demon Empress tilted her head. Well, the birthday gift from Big Brother Chu is in this bottle. He solemnly told me that I'm forbidden to open this bottle, so I don't know what it is exactly. Yarrow Ningning took out a bottle. In an instant, the entire hall was surrounded by a dense purple light. It's actually a bottle made of purple crystal jade essence. Just this bottle alone can be considered a treasure. The Demon Empress raised her eyebrows. Even though purple crystal jade essence wasn't something too rare for the Demon Empress, such a large and complete piece of purple crystal jade essence was only made into a bottle for packaging. Then, the value of the thing in the bottle was already imaginable. It was definitely not something ordinary. Mother, Big Brother Chu once said that when you open this bottle, you must use your vital energy to seal the thing inside. You must not miss anything. Yarrow Ningning hemmed and hawed. Obviously, she didn't understand a certain someone's earnest instructions. Oh. The Demon Empress frowned and said, could it be that there's something very rare here? I'd like to see what good thing it is. As she spoke, she didn't hesitate. With a wave of her jade hand, A pure and holy white light instantly sealed an extremely small area. Then, she opened the bottle. The moment the bottle was opened, an extremely pure and surging medicinal power suddenly surged out of the bottle. In an instant, it actually had the tendency to break through the Demon Empress seal. The Demon Empress was truly shocked at this moment. She once again increased the sealing power of her vital energy. Then, she poured out a fruit from the bottle. It was a squarish fruit with words on each side. And that crazy pure spiritual energy was being emitted from this fruit. This is really the most valuable birthday present I've ever received in my life. There's no other. The Demon Empress said in surprise and joy. Then, she said, "Open your mouth." Hearing this, the other party, Yarrow Ningning, didn't react. What did she mean? Why did she open her mouth? Without another word, the Demon Empress pinched open Yarrow Ningning's mouth with one hand. The next moment, she had already put this strange fruit into her mouth. Then, she clasped her hands together. The small portion of medicinal power that was dissipating also turned into a clear stream. Under the careful control of the Demon Empress, it all entered Yarrow Ningning's stomach. "Mother." Yarrow Ningning only had time to say these two words before her mouth was already covered by the Demon Empress. Concentrate on cultivating. Don't let the medicinal power go to waste. Then, she used one hand to press against her daughter's back while the other hand was placed on the top of Yarrow Ningning's head. She channeled a vast amount of vital energy to help her daughter raise her cultivation. Heavenly treasures were undoubtedly very important. And this birthday present that Chu Yang gave this time was definitely the best in the Heaven Imperial Court. There was no other good thing that could compare to it. If the Demon Empress ate it, then she was very confident that she would be able to advance further in the peak level of Die Empress. Because there wasn't just pure medicinal power in it. There was also some kind of heavenly Tao law. She believed that as long as she could comprehend it, it would be a great creation. Even if she couldn't comprehend it on the spot, there would be an additional opportunity in her body. It could be said that it was extremely rare. But she still didn't choose to eat it herself. Instead, she gave it to her daughter. Weren't all mothers like this? When they had good things, they would choose to give it to their daughter first. How could there be a mother who cared about herself first? Yarrow Ningning's heart was in turmoil. She almost cried. It was because she didn't work hard in the past and her cultivation improved too slowly that her mother chose to give her such good things this time. In the Demon Imperial Palace, spiritual energy surged like never before. After a long while, the Demon Empress walked out, looking slightly tired. She ordered that no one was to enter and disturb her. Then, she went to the main hall. She thought to herself, this Chu Yang is really interesting. Also, he is generous enough. From what I know, this guy is someone who fears nothing. He even killed Yuan Tianji's son without hesitation. But now, he gave me such a great gift because of Ning'er. Obviously, it wasn't because of the power of the Demon Emperor Heaven. It was because of this relationship. Looks like Ning'er has really grown up. She can even make such good friends. With a friend like this, I can really be at ease. But, as the saying goes, give a peach and give a plum, return a jade. Since that's the case, I naturally can't be too petty. Forget it. This time, Mo Yunqian's 3 guards came to the Demon Emperor Heaven. Their purpose is self-evident. They must have come for him. This empress might as well block this disaster for him. Anyway, those 3 fellows have hurt many of my clan. Getting rid of them can be considered as helping others and myself. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. There's something I need to say in advance. It's like this. Around the 7th month, I felt a bean-sized protrusion at the base of my left thumb. There was also a similar protrusion at the 2nd joint of my right hand. It was very small. From then on, I knew it was tenosynovitis. However, I didn't feel any discomfort at that time. Recently, I slowly felt that it was getting in the way, but it didn't hurt much. The main thing was that in the past half a month, my fingers had some problems flexing and extending. Often, I needed to use one hand to pull them back. But it said that I need to do a small surgery. Now, I'm still hesitating whether to do it or not. I originally wanted to do it after I finished writing this book so that I could rest. But now that I'm hesitating. Chapter 2232. The entire Demon Emperor Palace was filled with joy as people sang and danced. It was as if the sudden incident did not affect the mood of all the demons. However, in the sky tens of thousands of miles away, the great battle was still raging and could not be stopped. At this moment, Mo Yuntian and the other two guards finally understood what had happened. They understood what mistake the three of them had made, but it was already too late. Audacious bastards, how dare you disrupt the Demon Empress birthday celebration? This sentence was said by a group of Demon Emperor Heaven experts who had just rushed over after they had killed a few people. Hearing this sentence, the three of them could not help but feel cold all over, and even their heads suddenly felt dizzy. How could it be so coincidental that it was the Demon Empress birthday celebration? And the three of them had actually killed the guards of Demon Emperor Heaven during the Demon Empress birthday celebration. This was troublesome. They had formed a huge grudge. This is a misunderstanding. One of the 7-star guards said loudly, "Please allow this old man to explain. Misunderstanding your ancestors." Almost all the experts of Demon Emperor Heaven scolded together, "Explain your mother's head. At this point in time, you still have the cheek to say that it's a misunderstanding? Then, I'll rush to your house and kill your wife's parents. Then, I'll tell you that this is a misunderstanding. You have to forgive me, okay? He must have lost his mind. Go to hell." The great battle was fought until the wind blew and the clouds rolled. The sky was blood red, and it was extremely tragic. If one were to compare, even if Chu Yang, with his insignificant battle strength, led his army for hundreds of thousands of miles, encountered disasters everywhere, was full of injured soldiers, and was full of devastation, he was still inferior. Because the quality of this battle was too high. Those who were not at the level of a saint were not qualified to participate at all. Even elementary saints were not much stronger than cannon fodder in this battle. The level of the side that was besieged was simply too high. There were a few twists and turns in this battle, and they were also the key points of this battle. It was worth mentioning. In the beginning, although the experts from Yarrow Huangtian's side had also come to participate in the encirclement, because their strength was not at a sufficient level, the three Mo Yuntian guards handled the situation with ease and were especially arrogant and despotic. They faced the enemy carelessly, chatting and laughing wittily, not treating it as a big deal at all. Although they had killed and injured many demons in the process, they did not think much of it. They felt that it was not a big deal, especially when they were extremely confident in their own strength. Even if there were any accidents in the future, it would not be a problem for them to retreat safely. Therefore, the three of them were naturally very relaxed. But later on, when the three of them found out that they had accidentally disturbed the Demon Empress' birthday, they truly panicked. The strength of the three of them was tyrannical. If the three of them worked together, even if the Demon Empress personally made a move, it would be difficult to take them down in one fell swoop. This was a fact, but you had disturbed the birthday of a heavenly emperor. No matter what, this was a conflict that was extremely difficult to resolve. Not to mention them, even their master, Yuan Tianxiang, would be dumbfounded. I did not expect that the three of us brothers would be so unlucky. We actually caused such a thing to happen the moment we set foot in Yarrow Huangtian. This kind of situation must not be blown up. We really did not do it on purpose. No matter how much courage we have, we would not dare to provoke such trouble. Therefore, the three of them started to be careful when they made their moves. They tried their best not to injure others, and tried their best to avoid increasing the number of casualties. But as more and more demons rushed over from Yarrow Huangtian's side after hearing the news, the attacks became more and more frenzied. Even though the three of them had outstanding strength, they were still gradually unable to hold on. Even if you did not want to kill and only focused on defense, the difference in strength was too great. Your rebound force could still injure others. Yet, The opponents were demons who loved to play as long as they fought. As long as a demon vomited blood, not only would the demons not regret it, all the experts of the demon race seemed to have been injected with chicken blood at the same time. They simply went crazy without regard for their lives. Stop, this is a misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding. The three of them raised their arms and shouted. They lowered their posture, intending to reason with them. They had already said this many times, but other than the first time, no one cared about them anymore. If you don't stop, we will have to retaliate with all our might. The three of them shouted. This time, they were threatening with force, but no one cared. Instead, their attacks became even more ferocious. We have already tolerated enough. Don't force us to retaliate. The three of them were extremely angry. Although this sentence sounded a little funny at first, with the status of the three of them, it was indeed a little aggrieved. You are just a bunch of ants. We only need to wave our hands a few more times to wipe you all out. You actually dare to pester us like this? We have already fought with you for so long, and we are not even embarrassed to kill you directly. What are you still pestering us for? The three of them were also people of high status in the past. Their cultivation had already reached the peak of the heavenly imperial court, and their status was revered. When had they ever suffered such cowardice? As time passed, they gradually became irritated, and their attacks subconsciously became heavier and heavier. Naturally, the hostility in his heart rose again. Injuries, deaths, the frequency of the gradually increasing numbers accelerated again, and after a period of time, the three of them were shocked to find that the situation was already out of control. No matter what they did, the other side's casualties were increasing, and the hatred between the two sides became deeper and deeper. There was no longer any room for negotiation. Since things had already reached such a stage, it was destined to be irreversible. Then, they might as well go all out and do something even more ruthless. The three of them were burning with anger. They had made up their minds to really go all out and kill all the demons in front of them. However, at this moment, someone suddenly said coldly, "I was wondering who it was." So it's the three of you. When the three of them heard the words of the person who came, their hearts trembled. This voice was almost right in front of them. Someone could actually come so close to speak, and the three of them did not notice. Didn't that mean that the person who came was at least an expert of the same level as them? Could it be that they only heard a dignified voice saying, "All of you, back down"? An unprecedented force suddenly attacked, and the demons who were madly fighting suddenly flew out one by one involuntarily. Then, the 5 golden-robed men faintly formed an encirclement, surrounding Mo Yuntian and the other two inside. The faces of the people who came were as cold as water, and their gazes were as sharp as lightning. "It's you." Mo Yuntian and the other two guards showed an unprecedented cautious expression. The 5 of them could be said to be old acquaintances, and were also on the same path as the 7-star guards. However, they were in Demon Emperor Heaven, and they were in Mo Yuntian's office. Back then, they had fought and killed for tens of thousands of years, and their grievances were intertwined. But now, they were already old friends who had not seen each other for hundreds of thousands of years. The cultivation of each of the 5 people in front of him was comparable to his own. The 5 of them working together was obviously much stronger than the 3 of them on his side. Even though it was not an overwhelming difference, the outcome of the battle was already clear. It's really been a long time. To think that the 3 of you are still alive. Furthermore, you actually have the guts to come to my Demon Emperor's heaven and cause such a huge ruckus. The Demon Emperor's heaven's guard said in a strange tone, "Are you really tired of living?" These few people had fought to the death in the past. Between each of them, other than being old acquaintances, they were also old enemies. Especially the enmity between the 2 heavens and earth, it had a long history, and there was no room for negotiation. When they met, there was never anything good to say. "This is a misunderstanding, and we did not do it on purpose," the 3 of them said at the same time. If there were no casualties, it would be fine. But now that so many demons have died, it can't be called a misunderstanding. The 5 guards of Demon Emperor Heaven snorted coldly. The current situation is that something happened at some time, and it led to a bloody conflict. Many demons died, and that is the truth. You are all old monsters who have lived for a long time, and you don't even understand such a simple logic. Another person said mockingly, "There is no such thing as a misunderstanding in this world." The third person said indifferently, "A misunderstanding, to us, is a battle. It is life and death." The fourth person continued with a smile, "So, the three of you are destined to be unlucky this time." The fifth person looked at Mo Yuntian's three guards with a gloating look. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "You are all dead. All of you can stay here." At this point, there was no need to explain anything anymore, and there was no meaning to it. Even if they said something like, "We didn't know that today was the Demon Empress' birthday, and those who didn't know are not guilty," and so on, other than showing weakness, there was no other use. Since that is the case, what's the harm in fighting? The three of them quickly gathered their scattered thoughts. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, we were never able to determine who is better. Let's just fight it out today, and see who is the winner. Good. Let's fight. Let's go to the sea. Not in my Demon Emperor Heaven realm. Okay. The 8 of them leaped and turned into 8 long rainbows. This kind of rainbow transformation movement technique was the unique technique of peak cultivators. In just a few moments, the sea suddenly became turbulent, and thunder rumbled non-stop. Obviously, the great battle had already begun. The entire Heaven Imperial City was also in a state of change because of this battle. Demon Emperor Heaven was still covered in snow, but outside of Demon Emperor Heaven, it was already overturned, and the earth was turned upside down. And that sharp aura and killing intent that soared into the sky, as well as the aftermath of the battle, almost refracted thousands of miles away. The battle aura that belonged to peak experts also surged back and forth in the sky of Heaven Imperial City for a long time. For a moment, countless experts in Heaven Imperial City's divine senses were silently watching over there, watching this battle of the century. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.